Right, hello guys. Today we have K.C Peck or Peck Holdings, the founder of Cosmic Charlie's Music Park. Do you want to introduce us to yourself and let us know about your Earth 2 story so far?
Oh boy, Earth 2 story so far. Yeah, I mean, again, my name's KC, Peck Holdings on Earth 2. Like a lot of other users, I kind of stumbled into it with Facebook ads, and unfortunately, I didn't necessarily catch on and click on, the first few times I saw it or whatever. But by the time it caught my eye, it just seemed like something that I was really interested in, and kind of snowballed from there.
Yeah. So, Cosmic Charlie's Music Park, what's the backstory behind that? What inspired you to start this as a location and the theme of it? What got you going on the
Well,
project?
so when I first found Earth 2, I mean, none of us really knew what it was all about. I didn't really know, like, I didn't really get the big picture right away.
Uh-huh.
So like a lot of us, I just started buying properties and collecting land, and we had the idea. I mean, all we really knew at that point is that the land was going to generate resources at some point. And so I went into it and just kind of picked up some properties all over the place. And then the more that I thought about the project as time went by, the more I realized like I didn't know like what was going on, and the more I knew that like I don't know, I kind of found all the things that I wasn't uh sorry. I went the wrong way with that one. But anyway,
All good.
basically I ended up with all this land, and I started thinking about like what the project was going to be in the future, and I realized that there was the likelihood that I was going to have all these resources and need to do something with
Yeah.
them. And I kind of started thinking like, what would I want to do in the metaverse? What would I want to do in virtual reality? Everyone was building mega cities at the time, and I'm not really a city person. And that I couldn't picture like what are these cities going to do? What are they for? And so rather than like I kind of felt the desire to start a project and to have something to put my resources towards.
Uh-huh.
But rather than a city, I was like, man, I really, and of course it was in COVID times where, we hadn't really been out much, and we weren't really, seeing friends and seeing music and that kind of thing. And I was like, I think what I would really like to do or be able to do is, get together with friends, get together and enjoy, have good times. And I grew up going to music festivals and stuff like that. And so it seemed like a perfect fit. I'd always kind of been interested in having a festival venue in real life,
Okay.
but that's just so unobtainable and also kind of undesirable. Like the logistics of dealing with all these people in real life is kind of a different picture, but to get into it in a platform like this seemed perfect. So, um, why Honduras? I chose, so like I said, I didn't come up with the idea for the project right away, and it was after class one had pretty much already passed.
Yeah.
And so I wanted to find a place. We kind of knew that class one was going to be special. We kind of knew that 750 tile properties were going to be special. And so I picked a place where I actually purchased mostly very small properties in the beginning. But I did grab a class one flex in Honduras.
Okay.
And so I figured to kind of build it from there would make sense, because then I would have, the ability for whatever special things came from that. So yeah, it was kind of an afterthought. I like went back and I was like, okay, where in my profile would be a good place for this? And the original parcel was actually set back. I was thinking resources when I bought it, and so it's
Okay.
kind of over the hills and the river. But
Yeah.
I was like, that's not that far from the ocean. So I was like, let's make this thing stretch from this class one 750 to the coast, and that's why it is where it is.
And it has turned into a huge project as well, hasn't it? How many tiles are involved with it now?
It's so hard to tell. I wish there were better property management tools and ways to look at
Yeah.
the statistics. I would say I probably have about 30,000 tiles there now. Um, This is probably pretty accurate. Probably about 30,000 in Cosmic Charlies of mine. And then of course, there have been a few
Other
times where
players
I've
around you.
had other players come join. So
Yeah, I've got a plot there. I can't
yeah,
remember.
yeah,
I'm
you
looking
do.
at the background behind you, and I'm trying to think
Yeah, it's
where
an
I am
old
on
one.
that.
I scrambled and pulled this up last minute, and that's as I did the heat map art, I was taking different pictures along the way, and so this one's not all the way up to date. We're missing the guitar back there, but I think you're probably right about there on the coast, huh?
Oh, you
You
actually know
grabbed.
where I am. Okay,
Oh yeah, I remember the day you bought that plot. You bought it up on the shoreline, up to the right of that sea stage there. Yep.
brilliant, awesome. Yeah, it is a really cool place. If you guys don't already have a plot, I'll put some links in the description below as well, so you can go grab some. Right,
Yeah, come
moving on
try it.
to the next question. So what was it about Earth 2 that appealed to you? What kind of, because there's a difference between small casual players and players like ourselves who've put like considerable money into it. What was it that made you drop a big chunk of money into Earth 2?
Well, I mean, again, unfortunately, I didn't dive in right away, and I didn't drop a big chunk of money in initially.
Yeah,
I kind of tiptoed into it again with all the unknowns. It was just it seemed so strange to me in the beginning, but fascinating. I love real estate, and I love all like property ownership and development and all that. But again, the way in my part of life right now, it's very unobtainable.
yeah,
I'm not able to, flip houses or, build houses or that kind of thing. And I had been spending a lot of time looking, searching, hoping I could find some project to start. And I kind of had a feeling that's why I was getting the Facebook ads, because I was like constantly looking at land to purchase.
that
And
makes
then
sense.
all of a sudden this virtual land came up, and I remember one of the comments in the beginning. I passed the ad several times, but then one of the comments came up was like, well, for 10 cents, like if you can, this is something you can get into for 10 cents. And I was like, 10 cents, like what's this? And I clicked through, and at that point, American tiles were already like $1.50. But I was like, oh, $1.50, that's so much more than 10 cents. And so I went off into, smaller countries and started, grabbing some things for I think my first purchase was like $19 or something like that, and I just grabbed a couple of things here and there. And oh boy, what was the original question? Where we
What was the kind of turning point that made you go a bit more in on Earth 2? Like,
Okay,
what was the
right.
motivation for you?
Yeah, so then I mean, the first turning point was, I guess, the second day. I had bought on the first day, I think it was like November 15th of 2020. I
Very early.
bought I bought two properties that day. And then I logged in the next day and I had a balance of a penny.
Okay.
And I think that was the first big turning point to me. I saw that penny in my account and I was like, what? And I looked and I saw they called it something different back then. Now it shows up as periodic bonus land or whatever. They called it something different. And I was
Land
like,
income
wait, what's
tax, I think
this?
it was.
Yeah,
Yeah.
land income tax. Yeah, anyway, right, the lit is what we always refer to it as. Anyway, so at that point I kind of like I brought it up with my wife, and I was just like, what, this is kind of, she started looking a little bit, and she found the Discord and the Facebook group, and we started seeing people talking about this. And so yeah, that initial penny was a big turning point. And then after that, I would say a couple weeks later, um I was thinking about it in the shower, and things just started to click. Like there were a couple points where I was thinking about it in my head, and I was like starting to understand the augmented reality parts, and starting to understand the geolocation connection,
Uh-huh.
and all those different things. And then I thought back to, my childhood time with SimCity, and I was just like, this is going to be great. Like at that point I made the connection. I was like SimCity with Pokemon Go,
Yeah.
basically. And then my mind just, I was so into it at that point. It's like a dream come true for me. So as soon as I started to imagine what it could become, again, long before there was any like official talk about what this actually was, it started to make a lot of sense to me, and I was like, this is what I want to do. So
Yeah, that makes sense. You've got the Twitter, sorry, you've got the SimCity reference on your Twitter bio as well. I noticed that. I stole it when I was
yeah.
announcing you. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. My Earth 2 bio has. I was just fun. I don't know. I like to have fun with it, and my descriptions have changed a couple of times. But yeah, when I thought about that, and I was, man, I would have been 6, I guess, a little kid, and my father works at the university here in town,
Okay,
and he brought home a beta copy of SimCity from Axis back in the day, like before it first came out,
fantastic.
and I was just hooked. Like as a kid, I spent we didn't have those before we had like computers in homes. So I would go into the computer labs at the university with my dad, and I would just play for hours and hours, and have different computers going with different cities, and uh, it was something that I really spent a lot of time with and really liked. So to see that mesh in with reality is pretty exciting.
And you get to be a part of it from the start as well. Yeah, that makes
Oh,
sense.
absolutely. Yep.
And permanent as well, rather than having to start a new game.
Right.
Right, next one. Do you want to walk us through your own portfolio? How much land do you have, tier 1, tier 2? How much essence you've got, if you're willing to share that?
Well, I'll talk about it. I'm not going to share it today with you, but no, just kidding. All right. So yeah, like I said, I kind of slow rolled into it when eh, so when we switched from tier 1 to tier 2, I had about 34,000 tiles,
That's still a lot.
about 3,000 properties.
Yeah.
And shortly thereafter, I stopped putting money in. I actually took a chunk of money out. I had to pay some bills this spring. Um, but then just within the game, mostly jewel sales and jewel flipping and stuff like that, I've actually expanded that number. That 34,000 number is now like 76,000 tiles.
Jesus.
So I would assume, I mean, that mean the majority of those new ones are going to be tier 2. So
Yeah.
I think I have about 35,000 tier 1s and about 40,000, 42,000 tier 2s, somewhere in there. And yeah, my essence, I went really hard when the sunrise and Jamaican jewels were the +2 ether. I saw that as a short-term opportunity, and I dove into that really hard. So for a while there, I was getting like 6,000 ether a day, or
Okay.
no, I'm sorry, 6,000 essence a day.
Yeah,
At that point in time, and
that's crazy.
so I stacked real hard, and it was upsetting when that came to an end. But I
Yeah,
knew it had to be short lived. So at this point, I've got 169,000 essence
I like
with
the
like,
number.
yeah, right. I just hit it yesterday. I was like, this is perfect, 169.
Brilliant.
So yeah, well, 169 with about 10,000 more promised. Yeah, so that's where I'm at with essence. And then with jewels has kind of been a big part of my play.
Okay.
At the end of October of 21, I realized that they were too cheap, and so I dove in, and so I've purchased about 64,000 jewels over the course of the game, but I've also sold about 26,000,
Okay.
and of course most of the ones I'm selling are crafted, so it's hard to tell. I wish there was a better way. In fact, yesterday I was looking for a better way to kind of judge those numbers and see where I stand as far as that goes. Um, but I had Jamaicans and sunrises in every single one of my slots on every single property during that time.
Okay.
So obviously a lot of backtracking to do after that, because you know, for the future gameplay, those probably weren't the best combinations to have.
No,
But
you definitely did well from them at the time, though. Yeah, with that
yeah,
essence balance.
exactly.
Yeah.
Right. They served their purpose. And so now I'm kind of just moving things around and trying to get everything slotted appropriately. So
So what have you done with the ones you've been taking out? You've been shattering them to make new jewels, or you just holding them, or have them the ones you've been selling?
yeah, there's definitely no going back with crafting. It seems like shattering is pretty much a bum deal.
Yeah.
And so now in the beginning, I did, in order to make those Jamaicans and sunrises, shattering commons is not so bad.
Yeah.
You know, to get different colors, especially if you're going to be crafting them up to a level where the degradation is irrelevant. Yes, I haven't been shattering them. I sold them. I sold a lot of them. I think now I'm down like 18 tile properties have Jamaicas and Sunrises on them still, but I've sold everything off of the smaller lots so far. And again, just kind of looking forward and realizing that those primes are going to be really important. So kind of looking at the trade-off, they're still selling for like 60 cents, which is, I mean, for a while I was selling them for $3, but
Jesus, that's came down a tiny bit then, actually. Yeah, if they were
yeah, a
going for
little bit, yeah.
Was
But
$3 when they still had the +2 bonus though?
right around there. Yeah, I mean, when jewels were selling, because remember we had common jewels at like 30, 34 cents for a while, for a couple weeks at least. The end of January, of this year, we were at like, between 28 and 34 cents for commons. So 34 cents times 9 is, $3. So they were up there for quite some time, and luckily I kind of saw that as an opportunity to trade them in and switch them around. But right now I'm even working on switching some things up, still selling them off even at the 60 cents.
So what's your dual plan now? Are you just switching to tier 1, or are you going straight to tier 3 for the plus ether evaporation?
Well, yeah, I mean, so one thing, like when it comes to slotting, it has so much to do with property size.
Uh-huh.
Because obviously it's like a multiplier effect there. And so all my large properties have had the most ether producing jewels possible at the time. I went straight to the multicolored tier 3s as soon as they came out with all the big ones.
Awesome.
But I don't have jewels on my small properties. I mean, I
At
have.
all? No.
No, it just doesn't make sense.
Okay.
I have 30,000, 40,000 single tiles.
Yeah. Okay.
So, that's so many slots. That's, more, it would cost more than my entire investment to slot them all with commons, I think. But they're the ones that make the jewels. My small tiles, they don't need the essence improvement is not going to be worth it. But anyway, yeah.
But they're still worth holding on for the jewels that you're
Yeah.
getting from them to slot other properties. Yeah.
So recently when there was well, actually it was actually a week or two before confirmation from Shane about the prime jewels being required. As the resources were detected, I would pull off one at least and get a prime on there, and then move the color combinations around to match, to be appropriate. But until we actually see and start collecting the resources, I'm definitely still kind of ether centric.
Same.
Yeah. I'm all about stacking essence at this point for me. And I kind of feel like the hollow building, like people are really excited about the like backdated resources and filling up their hollow buildings and stuff. But I have a feeling that so much time has gone by, and they've indicated that the hollow building storage is going to be somewhat limited. So I have a feeling that all of that will be full, or
Regardless.
right, exactly. So not stressing the percentage increase on the individual resources, but trying to make sure my collection, I kind of look at my slots as safe spots for the jewels that I will need when it comes time for the eco sim.
Yeah, it's a good way of thinking of it, actually. Yeah, because I think we're all going to continue kind of adjusting as more information comes to light, and especially as more resources released as well, anyway. Because we know we're getting kind of lower tiers that are going to be released in the future, and there's still the sand, wood, and water to launch as well. So if you've got like properties with multiple different resources, you're going to have to want to slot them a different, well, actually depending on what you need. I guess we'll be adjusting depending on what resources we need for the actual buildings and stuff as well.
Yeah, and I'm really, really excited to hear what they're doing with sand, wood, and water, because it's been implied that it's going to be different, that there's going to be something, and I have a feeling the jewel market is going to go crazy when we figure out what that is. Like I said, I don't even really have speculation on like what.
I've got speculation if you want
Oh
mine.
yeah, I
I
do.
hope this isn't what they do, but I do think it might be what they do. I think wood, sand, and water might be the default ones, because I remember Shane said all properties will have some resources. So I think everything that doesn't have other resource, or maybe it's even the ones that do, will all get those free by default. And then will be the things everybody can collect. And I hope it's not that, because my student city has an abundance of fresh water and wood. And it would have been one of the things that I would have been like, yes, Student City's got these. So I hope all the tiles don't get them by default, but that's kind of the only thing that makes sense in my head if they're doing something with all three kind of thing.
Right. Well, and if they do, then the demand for those colors of prime jewel, like if all properties need a prime jewel for sandwood or water, then that's going to change everything, you know. So and again, when you look at Earth One and sand, wood, and water, like we use it for everything. Like we need, like there's a lot of sand, there's a lot of wood, there's a lot of water on the planet, but we use it for literally everything, you know. And so I'm really interested about that, and I have a feeling that there's gonna be some quick shifts in the jewel market when that happens, for sure.
Yeah, jewels for sure. But if we do get those as well, I think sand, wood, and water might kind of hit a bit of a not really doing much in terms of sales and stuff in the market as well, because if we're all getting them, we're not really gonna, well, unless you've got like a project you want to get finished there and then, and you're not willing to wait for them to produce, you're gonna be getting them anyway, aren't you?
Right. Well, the where and when that you mentioned is huge too. The transportation of resources is going to be really interesting. I cannot wait to see how that works out. And that's something that yeah, I mean, that could open up just, I mean, a whole world of careers and you know, everything, because yeah, if we're literally getting these resources from where they come from to where we need them, that kind of that thought process left me scramble with Cosmic Charlies, because you know, it's like I hit with resources on my original properties, but they're spread all over the world, and it's like
Same.
it's like, yikes, I need to get some here, you know. So now all of a sudden that heat map, that resource heat map, really comes in handy.
Did you have any resources actually on the Cosmic Charlies plot or not?
Zero.
Yeah, same for Student City. I was gutted with that.
Yep, nothing. And yeah, I don't know, I'm very optimistic, and so of course I was like, oh, this is going to be just like randomly the sweet spot for something, and no, not yet, but that's okay. I've definitely kind of mapped out, and I've got a lot of upgrading to do, let's say that, because I've found a lot of tier 2 spots as close as possible to where I need to build. So
that makes sense. To be fair, mine are absolutely miles away from my main project as well, and the vast majority of all of my land is T2, so I'll certainly have a lot of upgrading to do as well. Right, back to the questions, because we've gone off on a right tangent there.
I told you we would cover it all.
It's all good, mate. How important do you think collaboration is, and do you have any partnerships in the works already?
I mean, Shane has made it very clear that it's important to him and it will be important in the project. I don't think there's any doubt about that. Do I have any partnerships in the works? Not really. You know, I have a handful of friends, and you know, friends that I've made throughout the platform. But and I'm a member of the Lone Wolf Discord, because in the beginning they convinced me that it wasn't a collaboration, or you know, and I was like, all right. So I pop in there every now and again, but yeah, no, I don't really. I kind of left Cosmic Charlies under the table for a while. I think that the time to really promote that is still long off in the future.
Agreed.
And I think we'll find partners as needed when the time comes. But my one strategy regarding collaboration is and you and I had talked about this on Twitter in the past. I think the megacity roads are going to be gold.
Yes, please.
Because if you think about how you would write an algorithm, or you know, a formula that would calculate and judge collaboration, one of the obvious things would be adjacent property owners. And so I think that if you have a property that's adjacent to a lot of other active players, a huge variety of active players, That's going to be one of the easiest ways for them to like calculate collaboration. And so and that's part of the heat map art. I know we'll talk more about the heat map art
Uh-huh.
later, but I think that part of my thinking there is it's tons of small properties surrounded in large properties, and at some
That
point,
is sorry. What you're saying before we go off another tangent, what you're saying right now about the adjacent properties, this is actually in the draft paper as well. They've already kind of
hmm,
shadow
it's very
announced.
clear.
Yeah, they've already
Mhm.
shadow announced rewards for the most active areas of. It was either resources or essence or something collected on properties that are adjacent to each other. So there's
Mhm.
definitely something going on there with that.
Yeah, I think they
Yeah.
even referred to it as like a bonus or something, or
Yes.
be
Yeah.
like a periodic bonus for the cities with the most active collaboration or whatever. And again, it's like, how do you calculate that? How do you judge that? And yeah, I think adjacent property, a variety of property owners in an area is going to be key. So although I own all the individual single tiles in that heat map art right now,
Yeah.
I don't plan to own those myself forever.
Are you actually going to be selling on some of your city as well?
Yeah, selling or distributing one way or another.
Yeah.
But yeah, the long-term plan with those is to have a vast variety of ownership in there.
Okay, I thought you would just get everybody else to fill the kind of the gaps that are between your art and stuff.
And there's still, by the way, there's still plenty of room. Come fill it in, that's great. But no, and there I have, and we'll see. A lot of it is dependent on, how the game actually shakes out, and
Yeah.
what we're actually playing. But yeah, no, I definitely have specific plans for certain areas. I keep suggesting people get yourself a spot in the campground. There's some specific areas that have specific long-term plans. So.
I don't recall you ever even mentioning that, to be honest. Was that on Twitter or Discord or what? I don't think I've saw you talking about specific areas.
Yeah, I drop hints whenever we talk about it or whatever. I've pointed some people in that direction, and it's funny because a lot of times too, when I on Twitter, Facebook, whatever the places that I interact with people, I'll suggest like, hey, get yourself a small spot in the campground, and then they'll go off and buy something somewhere else, and then if I notice, I'll send them one. It's like, here, this is, take one of these or whatever. So anyway, we'll get into it. It's gonna be fun. It's
Yeah,
gonna
you'll
be.
have to send me a link to the campground after we finish this, and I'll grab a
I'll
little
I'll
plot
I'll
there.
send I'll send you a lot. I'll send you a lot there.
Okay.
I didn't realize you weren't part of one of those.
Not that I think the coast plot might actually be the only one that I've got in Cosmic Charlie's, to be honest. I think it's a decent sized plot. I think it might be 100+ tiles if I'm
Oh wow,
remembering
nice,
correctly. It's been a
nice.
long time since I bought it, so I could be wrong. But yeah,
Yeah, no,
I'm sure it's a
I know
decent sized
exactly
plot.
where it is. It is a nice square. Well, and that's one of the things too, where I think that the eco sim is working out in a way that a lot of the plans for Cosmic Charlie's didn't necessarily start with the eco sim in consideration.
Okay.
So people are wise to buy big plots. I think as
Yeah.
far as like strategy and gameplays go, bigger plots are better. But when you're actually looking at, phase three, big plots are going to be ridiculous. You're going to be sitting in a field by yourself. You know what I mean? So that's why Cosmic Charlie's is very tight with a lot of small properties. So.
I was actually wondering about that today. You know how we're going to get leasing of land and stuff, how we're going to get
Mm-hmm.
the contracts from Shane, well,
Mm-hmm.
from Earth 2. I
Can't
was
wait.
I was pondering if we'll be able to kind of segregate sections of a property per contract rather than it being a property as a whole that somebody has to manage.
Okay, so they did say, oh wow, we're running on time already. They did say that there would be, well, I think it was in maybe the last vlog, the vlog number 8, that you'll be able to have multiple buildings on each property.
Multiple
And when
buildings, but that's not necessarily multiple
right, well,
contracts.
when they were talking about the contracts, though, was that might have been 7. They were saying that every player needs a space, and they were showing an apartment building that had a bunch of spaces, and they were speaking as if you were
Yeah,
renting out even a part within the building. So if a property can have multiple buildings and a player just needs to rent a space within a building,
yeah.
it sounds to me like you might be able to have a lot of contracts within. But I mean, again, look at Earth One, same way that an apartment building
Yeah.
works, or an office building, or office complex where they have multiple buildings and different people working in them. So I think that,
you make a very good point there. Actually, I'd never kind of made that connection between the two different statements that they've made. Yeah, that would make a lot of sense. Yeah.
every time I watch those vlogs, I watch them frequently, and every time I watch them, I catch something different. There's so much information in those videos. It's pretty fascinating.
Yeah, it's just making the connections between them as well. Yeah.
Mhm.
Right. What do you think will be the biggest hurdle Earth 2 faces going forward?
I think it's going to be the Earth One economy. I
Okay.
think
Yeah.
I think that, I mean, we're already struggling with that hurdle because they're already holding back the Essence launch. And I'm afraid that it's going to get a lot worse. Not necessarily, I mean, I don't know, I don't have a picture of crypto or of what the dollar is going to do, or but I have a feeling that and in some ways that's the perfect time to shine. Like, in some ways it's the perfect setting for this to actually succeed. But I think that when people are having trouble in real life with their real bills and their real jobs and whatnot, that that's gonna be hard to overcome.
No, that makes complete sense. When people have only got so much disposable income, there's only so much you can put into things like this.
Yeah.
And then I know, I'm not sure about everywhere else in the world, but even the utility bills and stuff here in the UK for winter, they're projecting that there could be up to like £1,000 a month or £2,000 a month and stuff for some people. Which,
Yeah.
yeah,
Some of the stuff I'm hearing, I think I saw something from somebody in like Germany the other day, and they were talking
yeah,
about the difference between last year and this year, and it's like
yeah,
unbelievable, and it's only the beginning,
yeah.
unfortunately.
I would agree with that. Yeah. Well, we'll just have to wait and see what happens, won't we?
Well, and
But
again, it's the perfect storm for something like this to succeed in some ways. If you look at Ready Player One, or a lot of futuristic things, it's like these alternate worlds become desirable because
the real world
real
sucks.
life is a drag. Exactly. So I think in some ways it could be really good, but that's the concern for me.
Yeah, I think that's where the kind of hyper growth from Earth 2 came in the first place, to be honest. We've all been stuck at home and hating what
Hmm.
was going on in the world and stuff. So, yeah, I completely
One
agree with you on that.
And everybody wants something to look forward to. Everyone wants something to feel good about. Like, you know what I mean? We all want that, and it was the perfect timing for it. I hope it becomes something that provides that feeling before it's too late.
I think it kind of already did for a lot of us. Maybe it's not for the
Oh,
kind of mass adoption that we're hoping it'll get in the future, but yeah, I think it's definitely been a good, safe place for a lot of us for the last year and a half. Yeah.
absolutely. For me, I'm so grateful to have this to look at and look forward to and work on and think about, and it's something, it provides a lot of dreams. It's a lot of optimism and hope.
A
So
happy distraction from life. That's
exactly.
how I look at it. So I'm not actually sure of this one. I'm not sure if you are. Are you into any other Web3 projects or not? Or are you all in on Earth 2?
And pretty much all in on Earth too, for sure. I played with Vivi a little bit, and Comey a bit when Randy and Arya got real excited about it. But yeah, I actually I still own the NFTs, like still have a collection of comics and collectibles.
Uh-huh.
But I did sell my Omi at the bottom,
Oh,
and I had to. It was one of those things where I kind of law and there was I had a vision for that project, and it kind of fell apart in my heart. And so but yeah, other than that, I haven't even really looked in. I was curious about Axie for a minute, and I looked into it, and it was when it was very expensive, and I was just like, not gonna make that, and it didn't look stimulating, like, as
it's
far
not.
as,
It's boring. Yeah.
yeah. And yeah, and that's pretty much it. Yeah, I haven't done a whole lot. I played around on OpenSea a little bit. I've made some Cosmic Charlie's little things that came and went, but no,
Okay.
I'm pretty much all about it's for me. It's the economy and the the Earth too that really excites me. So
To be fair, I think when the eco-sim and stuff come out and we've got all that to do, I don't think we're gonna have time to be dabbling in other projects and stuff anyway.
I have serious concerns for
Yeah.
ability to manage what I've got on my plate already.
Yeah, I was thinking the same, but hopefully that is where the contracts can come in place. I'm thinking if I just focus pretty much solely on Tune City, and then I can have people contracting on me mines and stuff like that, and then I'm just getting my share of it coming in to help us build up Tune City. That'll kind of, yeah, that's where my head's at. Hopefully
Yep.
hopefully there's demand for the contracts in the first place. Hopefully there's enough players to fill the contracts that we put out there.
Yeah, I mean, it'll come in time. There needs to be a reason for all of it, but again, between transportation and there's just so many different things that will need to be done,
Uh-huh.
and a bunch of players like myself who aren't going to be able to do it themselves.
Yeah.
I knew going into it that this was not a manageable situation that I was getting into. So
Yeah,
I look
especially
forward
with
to.
70 odd thousand tiles. Yeah.
Yeah, well, and a lot of properties too, like because there's so many of them are small. Well, in the beginning, one of the things that struck me very early on was that there was no ability to subdivide.
Okay. Yeah.
And when we were seeing the prices, like during that viral phase, we were seeing the prices just. I'm like, man, these big plots are priced out. They're
Yeah.
unobtainable. It's like all the United States plots were $30,000 or whatever. It's like you're seeing these huge numbers, and that scared me. I was like, I'm not going to be able to sell these things at $60 a tile when they're large. And so I went around and bought a bunch of small stuff. Obviously, ecosim wise, that might not have been the best move, but yeah,
Well, we know we're getting tile merchant as well. She announced that what must have been a few months back now. So at the very least, you can stick them back together if you want to.
every time they talk about tile merging, they say if we release the feature.
No, I'm
They,
sure it was a definite on the last one.
you're sure there was a definite on that?
You're making us doubt myself now,
I
but
mean, you're probably more, you probably see more of it than I do. You're probably like more, uh, but every time, I mean, definitely in the dev vlog, they said like we're talking about the ability to merge properties, and if we choose to release this,
yeah, okay,
so I don't know. A lot of my small stuff I bought in the beginning are adjacent, because I was thinking at very least I was hoping you could build across
yeah.
the properties, if not merge. But now that I see the way that jewels work and the way I'm imagining resources are going to work, merging would be sweet.
Yeah, agreed. Because you're gonna need all those open slots to get the kind of multi-dual benefits and stuff as well, aren't you? But even the upgrades as well from T2 to T1. Yeah, there's lots to
Well,
go into it.
when jewels get expensive, like if the
Oh yeah,
resources are worth, if the resources are worth something, and the jewels increase the resources,
yeah,
the jewels are going to be expensive, especially when you get tier 4, tier 5, etc. Slotting is gonna be a serious business.
yeah. I think we're kind of take it for granted how many we're getting now and stuff as well, don't we? Right. So next question. This is another standard one, and it's if you could give just one bit of advice to new Earth 2 players, what would that be?
So I've been thinking about this one a lot, and I think that I have to go with two bits of advice,
Nope.
unfortunately.
One.
I
Only
think
one allowed.
only one.
You can't
Oh
give
man,
two.
which one? Okay. Well then, but to new players.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna slip them both in there.
No.
Okay, fine. So I guess the multiplier effect. I kind of talked about that a little bit earlier, and that was one thing that I wish I would have had. I mean, the information just wasn't there at the time, but to realize how much more powerful a large plot is going to be than a small plot when it comes to the ecosim purposes, like
Yeah.
talking phase 2.5 or whatever only. Is that what they're calling it now? I think it is.
E2 V1.
E2V1, yeah, but he threw like a E2V1 is 2.5. I don't know. Anyway, they snuck an extra phase in there somewhere, but during the ecosim part, I think that large plots are going to be very important. When again, we were talking about the jewels and I don't think jewels are going to be as easy to come by for the duration of the ecosim. And I think that the utility of, and I think the way that resource collection and stuff is going to be similar, like is also going to multiply for a big lot. So if I'm only allowed one, I guess I'll leave it at that.
So was your advice basically buy as big as you can?
Yeah, or just to keep in mind the size. Like for me, when it comes to slotting, uh the plot size means everything. It's like to have a plus 2% enhancement on a 16 tile plot is nothing compared to a common
750.
jewel on a, etc. So it's just the fact that your jewel, I mean, and the additional slots. I think those additional slots that the larger tier ones are gonna have is gonna make a big difference. But yeah, I think that's something that as a new player, I was looking at the opposite. I was looking at big plots being dangerous. And I think when it comes to ecosim,
That's
the
where it'll
size
pay
of
off. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
it's
I
something
just kind
to
of
be aware of.
I just did plots as and when I could afford to be fair. So I'm glad to
Yep.
get emergent because like there wasn't many times where I could afford to get the 750s. There was only country openings where I could ever kind of nab them. And even that was kind of pushing the bank out a bit. So I just tried to get close ones together in case like we could
Yep.
build over 2 plots. I had that in my head that we might be able to do that if we couldn't merge and stuff like that. So yeah.
Yeah. Right. And especially like for me recently, as I've been trying to expand my portfolio just within the game,
Yeah.
it's super hard to save up for that 750 or for the larger plot. Like it's especially selling jewels, you're making 9 cents at a time or $1.50 at a time or whatever, and it's so tempting to grab 50 tiles when you find the resource in the place you want or whatever. And I do. I mean, I often do. I'll grab a modest sized plot and then make myself save up.
Yeah, and then you've got to start all over again.
Yeah.
Question 8. What sort of timescale do you think we're looking at before we start to see real gameplay and the next wave of users comes to Earth 2? Basically, the ecosystem.
Okay, so real gameplay is a question that I like to come at because I've been playing this game for real.
Okay, well,
You know what I mean?
I will define this
So
as
that being said, we
traditional
got
gameplay.
gameplay last summer,
Traditional
but no,
gameplay.
but for real, I don't know. The timeline is definitely the big question for
Yeah.
me, and I don't know exactly what factors are at play. Everything ties together so much. Like as far as this next step in the ecosim and perhaps E2V1, I don't know if those will happen at the same time or what. But it's like you can't have upgrades until Essence has a value.
Yeah.
Essence can't have a value until it's on the exchange. You can't really do too much ecosim without upgrades. It's like the resource collection and all, like it's all so intertwined together that I'm not sure what exactly is the point at which we move forward. They said the crypto market is the reason for the Essence delay. Yeah, I can't put a time frame on any of that. As far as, I mean, he keeps talking about E2V1. Well, he was talking about E2V1 this year.
Uh-huh.
But then most recently I saw him answer a question about resource collection, and he was saying hopefully this year. So maybe next summer we'll see something that people who don't think there's a game yet will be willing to call a game.
Yeah. No, to be fair, I would agree that there is a game now. But when I was seeing gameplay, I do kind of mean in the sense where you're interacting with 3D objects and doing kind of more standardized gameplay. But yeah, I agree that there's definitely gameplay elements there now.
Right. Well, in the 3D object thing, to me, it sounds like that's coming way, way, way before we thought it was going to.
Yeah.
I was thinking the 3D thing was 5 years, or you know what I mean? I was thinking that we had a long, long way to go to get to any kind of 3D. And now they're talking about this E2V1 soon,
Yeah.
and that's amazing. But I would have accepted 2D gameplay or even just user interaction. As like I always thought that this phase 2, the ecosim part, was going to be on a map. Like I was
That
kind
was
of
the original plan. That's what they were
right.
going to do. Yeah.
Yeah, I was kind of picturing like some kind of Farmville type, and I say that as if I know what that is. I don't really, but it's like I have, but it's like that's a comparison that often gets made. And I was kind of picturing it as like a very simple, like collect resources and, stock things and trade things in a 2D world. And I would have been, I would have been so happy with that too, so, being able to message players, um, is going to really enhance the game to me.
I'm not
Uh,
sure if we're even going to get that NE2V1 or something. I think they might just use the XYZ for that.
well, whatever happened to this Earth 2 social network? We were supposed
Well,
to get
yeah,
Earth
well
2
that's
social
XYZ,
network.
but that's not that's not the Earth 2 platform though. That's literally like a standalone project.
It
That'll
was.
kind of
It was, and then they shut down that standalone project because they were going to do this Earth 2 social network, right?
Oh no. It's from my understanding, it's still its own project. Like kind of like how Drone is its own project, but it links into the Earth 2 platform with some features. My understanding of XYZ is that it's going to be its own social media platform, but then there'll just be some features that link into Earth 2 as well.
Yeah. See, I have a different understanding about the way you just described drone too.
Okay, what's
So
yours? Go on.
you know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
I see that. I mean, he said that they are going to leave drone as like its own standalone thing,
yeah.
but I don't think it's going to. I don't think the drone is going to link into Earth 2 the way that you just mentioned. It's going to
Okay,
be more that they take some of the existing tech from the drone project and
yeah.
incorporate it into this.
Oh no, I disagree with that completely.
You do. All right,
Well,
that's what I thought. Yeah.
I do think they will do that. I definitely think they will use some of the drone tech in the development of Earth 2, but I also think that we will have a drone the game that is a separate game to Earth 2 that just links into kind of some of the resources and the jewels and stuff like that, maybe reward systems and stuff of Earth 2. Kind of, I think of Earth 2 as the hub, and then you've got all these kind of connected things like branches of a tree that kind of come back to it.
Sure.
There's nothing wrong with difference of opinions.
Uh, oh
We
no,
don't
yeah,
have
no,
to
I love it.
agree with that. Yeah,
I don't even necessarily disagree. I'm just saying that I see it differently. Like
yeah,
the way that he like that when they like announced the drone acquisition and everything, and there was all these, he made it pretty clear that like drone is always going to be drone, and
yeah,
that's like a Steam thing, right? And they're gonna like make it free on Steam, and that's gonna be like their community. They're not like, and then, but they didn't buy it just to like leave it off to the side.
yeah.
They bought it because there a lot of the parts of drone fit, in Earth 2. Yeah, I don't know. We'll see. It's exciting. It's the not knowing and getting to like develop these ideas is part of what I love about it. So
I completely agree. Yeah, we're kind of with how little. I know this might be a bad thing to say. With how little information we're actually given from Earth 2 on things, all that's kind of left is for us to kind of speculate and come up with these ideas and stuff like that. And obviously, we're all going to come up with different ideas and opinions and stuff, and it's kind of batting those off each other and kind of discovering the truth that is good.
well, yeah, in my opinion, that's intentional, and it's like
Yeah,
the game at this point. Like at this
yeah,
point, the game, and that is very like Ready Player One, like, where they're like trying to figure out what they're supposed to do. Like that's the game. You know what I mean? Like right now, we're supposed to figure out like what do we need to hold on to? What do we need to acquire? What do we need to get rid of? And
yeah,
what's going to be important and why? And a lot of those answers don't exist anywhere. The team doesn't know how this is going to play out. Shane didn't know what he was doing when he, no, not that he didn't know what he was doing, but
yeah,
he didn't know what this was going to become. And in a lot of ways, nobody does. And and we've already seen for one that things change
yeah.
too, that this is in development and that it's not going to be the way that it is right now always.
Uh-huh.
And we've also seen that player input kind of directs where they go with things. um you know uh Essence is a great example of uh kind of going in, so it's like we're speculating, we're also providing input, and we're creating a new world. It's pretty cool.
There's kind of speculation on that this system for resource validations is going to be kind of what is used for players deciding what is going to happen with Earth 2 as well. I've saw a lot of players kind of suggesting that might be how the Earth 2 DAO works and how we decide what kind of future things getting
One,
upended and stuff like that.
and that's not all speculation either. Shane's been pretty clear that like
But he
they're
said he's
doing
testing for other things. Yeah.
right, exactly. And the way when he was talking about like the drawing boundaries and all these different parts of the validation that we don't even see.
Yeah.
A lot of the parts are in the background, and yeah, they're very clear that it's got multiple purposes. What was his, by the way, what was he, was it last night or this morning? I was like trying to sleep and to prepare for this or whatever, but he got kind of his tweets last night were pretty interesting.
Okay.
I didn't
Anything in particular stand out to you?
well, I didn't have a chance to process the whole thing. What was he
Yeah.
talking about? Anyway, we can move on. Let's go ahead and move on. And
No, if there's anything that stands out, you're more than welcome to bring it up.
yeah, it was exciting. He said, I do remember, it is worth looking at. Let me find, I'm not good at Twitter, but uh the Shane, he was talking about oh, it's pinned. I guess he was tweeting a lot.
Yeah, he has sent a few. I've been through them.
It might have been a reply, but anyway, when he was talking about not, I don't want to quote the wrong thing. Anyway, we can.
But if you see it, it might
move
jog
on.
my memory because I've read them as well.
Yeah.
Let me get you into Twitter.
Yeah, I'm just bad at this. Let's move on, and we'll
sure?
we'll come back around. Yep.
Okay, no problem. Right, this is the last question from myself, and then we're going to move on to the community questions. So you kind of have briefly touched up on this actually, but where do you see yourself in the future of Earth 2? Are you a long-term player? Is it an investment? Is it a bit of both? Do you want it to become passive? What are your future plans for your Earth 2 portfolio?
Wow. Something I probably should have thought about. I fall into all those categories, I think. I mean, when I first started buying land in the very beginning in December, it was very much like an investment. Like well, and the first couple was just like, what is this? This looks cool. And then I was like, okay, I'm gonna buy this stuff and resell it. Like in the beginning, I wanted to buy it and resell it. But then as I started to learn about what we knew about it and what it was going to be and what we didn't know about it and what it was going to turn into, I'm like definitely like emotionally like in this. So I'll play her forever. I'm not going away. And I have an attachment to a lot of like the land. Like anytime I do sell something, I feel it. So I think in that way, I'm not looking to like dump my properties or dump my essence or anything like that. I do like, I'm going to be an active player. Like I'm going to be a daily player with my hands on Cosmic Charlie's. But I do love the passive income side of it. Even already with jewels and essence, potentially, I enjoy that daily, income or whatever, so to speak. But the idea of the leasing and the advertising, the contracts and the advertising, I would love to have passive income that allows me to be the full-time player, I guess.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, so you can
like
kind of turn it into a job. It gives you the freedom to be able to pursue it.
Yeah, if my portfolio can provide the contract income and the advertising income that allows me to create these amazing experiences at my music park, that's kind of the ideal scenario for me.
Well, how many joules a day are you getting at the minute, and how much essence do you get daily now?
Okay, so right now I get between 100 and 140 joules a day.
Okay, that's still crazy.
Yeah, pretty good. I peaked out. I mean, obviously they changed the way that everything was spawning right around when I made the big jewel farming moves. But yeah, so I peaked out at like a couple hundred a day. Like I was getting like 220 a day for a while. And then we were seeing those jewel bursts, and I was really picturing myself getting a couple of those, and I think they changed that just in time. But yeah, and then essence, I get about 18 to 1900 ether a day, which has been converting to between like 115 and 130 essence a day.
That's still a lot. That's still really good.
Yeah, I'm happy with it. I liked it. I like 6,000 a day better, but
I can
you know,
imagine. Yeah.
120 is pretty good. Oh yeah, I was those that it was what like a week. It was like a maybe like a I don't know if it was a long week or a short week, but there was like that time frame when that +2 when I was like working that +2 really hard. And I mean, I was spending all day during that time making Jamaicans and making sunrises. But during that day, that was the top or that time period, that was the top of the world for me. I was just like, because even it's like what even at 10 cents, 6,000 essence a day is, but it's like it had to be too good to be true. I was
Yeah, it didn't
like,
last long. I was
yeah.
still crafting my jewels and slotting them even when they stopped it, because I only get, even now I think I have probably average about 18 jewels a day or something like that, and I
How
used to
many?
get about 18 per day.
Eight, 18. Okay.
Yeah, 1/8. And back then I used to get even less. So I used to just craft them every single day that I got more jewels and then go
Mm-hmm.
slot the next slot. So
Mm-hmm.
I was kind of still filling my properties up even when they cut it off. So I did miss
Yeah.
out on the kind of the peak of that. But yeah, I got
Yeah.
some of it though.
Well, and I again like 2%. I don't know. Again, that integer increase didn't make sense. Like
Yeah.
that was obviously something that couldn't like
It wasn't
sustain.
sustainable. Yeah.
Right? It wasn't because I mean again because then literally the whole globe would be full of single tiles if essence had any value. It's like to get those slots, like the slots per dollar ratio was like the only thing that mattered during that time, and that's not the world that we want. So that wasn't going to work. But yeah, when it was happening, I was going for it.
I wonder how it happened in the first place, because it doesn't seem like the sort of thing that would have been an intentional, or we'll just do this for a little while to get them to craft loads of jewels that will potentially end up being useless. Do you think somebody just kind of misinterpreted a +2% for a +2 ETH?
There could have been a miscommunication there. Well, and I could have my time a little bit wrong, but was that not during like right when like Wolfgang was like leaving? Because
Or could have been, I'm not sure, I
Wolf
can't recall.
Wolfgang had a very, very, very different perspective. Like he wanted a very different world.
Yeah.
From what I understood,
Uh-huh.
and he didn't like the idea of it being a tradable crypto. He didn't like the idea of. So I think that it could have been just a overlap in different plans. Where
That would make sense. Yeah.
ether in essence was supposed to mean something different. Could have been that. I also have a feeling that it was an early warning to us.
Warning in
um
what regards that things can change.
Yeah. At least that it was a lesson that I needed to learn for sure. But the way that it went, the fact that it's a dead branch on the tree, that's kind of how I refer to it. The fact that they provided something that was too good to be true.
Yeah.
And as soon as I saw the way that the shattering, like how little you got back from shattering those, I was like, okay, there's no going back. So taking your commons and turning them into these specialized things is permanent,
Yeah.
and I realized as I was doing it. I mean, I knew because like I said, I crafted like I had like 60 some thousand jewels that I was turning into these things, and I knew as I was doing it that it was risky, and that there
Mhm.
was no going back, and that to me kind of indicates that they I don't know, but also with the amount of outrage and everything, that nobody would have wanted that. So it one way or another, it didn't go the way that they had in mind. So.
I guess knowing why it happened doesn't really change the fact that it has happened anyway, does it? So,
Right,
I'm sure we'll never find out anyway.
right, exactly. Whether
Yeah.
it was an intentional lesson or not,
Yeah.
at that point in time, because I spent a couple of days being like pissed,
Yeah.
and then after that, I realized I was like, okay, like what do I need to take from this? Like I need to realize that like this is we're like this is a game of speculation, and we're making these decisions without knowing why, and that's a fun game to play. I like it.
Yeah, you've got to kind of get on the short term potential benefits. It's kind of like the same as what staking is now. Like Shane's already announced that the 100% bonus is going to be reduced later on. So kind of it might be another thing like where you've only got a very limited time frame to make the most of this opportunity, and then it's going to go. So yeah, it could have been something like that if it wasn't a mistake. Yeah, we might see more things where it's like you have to be alert and knowing exactly what's going on to get the most benefit from it. Yeah.
Right. Well, and moderation is something I've never been very good at, but like but having like a balance, like having a strategy that kind of covers both angle, you know, it's like, okay, I need these specialized jewels, but also like, let's hang on to some commons, you know, that's, I don't know, it's kind of good to cover your bases.
Yeah, I can be quite hesitant with that stuff, to be honest. I'm kind of I want to learn the information and kind of plan a bit of a strategy and see what's going on and stuff. So I do kind of sometimes miss those opportunities. So I think I kind of might need to take your lesson on board and just kind of dive in a little bit more. Yeah, we'll see though.
Yeah, but I mean, again, with the knowledge that everything could change, or
Yes,
that
yeah.
it could be the wrong direction. You know, I mean, again, single tiles, I think is, and I go back and forth on my single tile. Anyway, let's move on. We'll touch on that one later too.
No problem at all. Right there, we're literally onto the community questions now. And the first one is from Earth. Well, there's two from Earth to Explorer actually, but his first one is, what would be actually? I need to reword this. What would be your dream artist band to play a live concert at Cosmic Charlie's?
I even saw this one ahead of time and didn't prepare for it. Yeah, I don't know. I don't like I've never been one to like have favorites. Like when it comes to music, my musical taste is all over the place.
Okay.
Like I listen to, I mean, I guess I grew up in like the Grateful Dead or not era, but in that like scene. A lot of the festivals were very like hippie, like jam band music. That style of rock and roll. But really, like I listen to rap, I listen to country, a lot of bluegrass. Like I'm pretty all over the place. I've got, you know, a few kids here, and so we listen to like the pop music on the radio,
Yeah.
and you know, so yeah. But who would be my ideal? I mean, if I were to pick like the most, such a hard one. Um, Yeah, I don't know, man.
No.
Let's go with Neil Young. Neil Young rocks. How about that?
Okay.
We had
Yeah.
I've had some good Neil Young, but no, I think just classic. I mean, most of the obvious answers are dead. You know, like the legends, like obviously. Well, and again in the
Yeah, you
metaverse.
can bring them back.
What was the question
AI.
again? Wait, can you repeat the question?
What would be your dream band artist to play a live concert at Cosmic Charlie's?
So the word live is in there, but let's let's go all the way to Jimi Hendrix.
Okay.
I
Yeah.
think if we're going Cosmic Charlie's, we're in the metaverse, so anything
Yeah.
is possible.
But to be
Let's
fair, with the AIs and stuff that I've been seeing lately, you could literally
Mhm,
bring anyone back to life and have any sort of
mhm,
concert. Even
yep,
mashups of bands that would never do collabs in the real world, you could kind of
mhm, yep.
produce.
Well, and one thing that I like started a little bit and then didn't really work on it too much, but I do have a flashback channel. I think I have like an EPL and a theater or whatever. But part of Cosmic Charlie's is going to be like a flashback part where
Okay.
there's old concerts
Yeah.
playing all the time. You know, I got this actual really cool collection of like old recorded like bootleg recorded concerts from like all the way back.
Yeah.
And I have a couple of videos up on a Cosmic Charlie's flashback YouTube channel. So
Do you? Oh, I've
uh,
never seen that. I'll have to check that out as
couple. I
well.
haven't looked at it. I worked on it for like a few days and haven't looked at it in a while. But that'll be a thing. We will bring back the legends of the past at Cosmic Charlie's one way or another.
What will that involve in terms of like copyright and stuff? Will you be having to get permission from the artists or whoever holds their estate and stuff in regards to that? Or do you just have ownership because you've got the recordings? I'm not clear how
Well,
that stuff works.
when it comes to Earth 2 and the metaverse and all that, I have no idea what we're getting into.
Yeah.
As far as YouTube goes, I was actually pleasantly surprised. The way that they handle copyrighted material is pretty cool. There were a couple videos that were just like blocked that
Yeah.
they wouldn't play, but for the most part, they just make me acknowledge that it's copyright and that
Okay.
the copyright holder gets to run ads on them.
Yeah.
So I can upload a video to my channel and whatever band has claimed, and it's interesting because it's usually they like the AI, like the algorithm like finds like a song
Uh-huh.
in the concert that they know is theirs or whatever, and then they get to advertise, like they get to run ads and they get the monetize. I would be unable to monetize it.
Yeah.
They get the money.
But you still
Um,
get to display it. Yeah.
but I still get to have it up there. And so it's neat. I actually have a handful of ones that were like flagged as copyright but still viewable on
Yeah.
there. And that was fun.
Now, fingers crossed Shane or the team eventually manage to get something like that in place for Earth 2, that would be cool, because then you could still have them there. And even if you're not monetized directly, you can still have them in the place to kind of draw the crowds in and stuff. That would still be cool.
That's interesting. Who owns YouTube these days? Because that would be
It's Google that owns YouTube.
Is it okay? Yeah, that's probably a long shot. I was gonna say that would be quite a partnership, and I think the way that these partnerships are gonna start to emerge is gonna be cool. I think that's gonna enable Earth 2 to do a lot of these features that have already been developed.
Yeah.
I mean, these, we don't want them spending their time trying to sort out copyrighted content, but they should partner with somebody who does
Somebody's
those.
already got those processes in place and stuff like that, and then just kind of bring the frameworks in. That would make sense. Have we done the second one? No, we haven't done the second one from Earth 2 Explorer. And he is saying, what have been your most, this is a bad one actually, what have been your most regrettable moves in Earth 2 so far? And what do you think, and your best moves as well? So basically your best and worst Earth 2 moves.
So this is one I cut myself off earlier because I knew we were gonna get here.
Yeah.
And now I forget what the answer I was gonna use was.
Oh.
That's how my brain works. But well, okay. So one, I had a flex in San Marino.
Okay.
And I sold it to Butt.
Yeah.
And in some ways I regret that. I especially now with like my appreciation for large properties, at that point in time I saw it as an opportunity to break up, like to get a bunch of smaller properties.
Yeah.
So when I sold that flex to him, I went and bought 750 tiles within San Marino, but like all over the place.
Yeah.
And then I got a bunch of, but I do appreciate that decision because it kind of got my ball rolling. Like that was the first real move. I hadn't really been buying or selling anything for a long time. In fact, before, like when they did that market freeze, I took everything that I had for sale off the market and kind of like tiptoed back into it. So in some ways I'm appreciative for that sale because it got me playing again.
Yeah.
I got that money for that, and then I spent it, and then I was buying things, and then I got different strategies and started doing some like single tile flipping and all that kind of stuff. So that was one. And then I guess the other one, it must have been when we were just talking about, because I don't really regret crafting the jewels.
No,
Yeah, well, I lost
you
what the
definitely
other
got
one.
some good essence from crafting those jewels. So yeah, I wouldn't regret that.
Yeah, right. Well, and again, when you look at the yield, if we were getting, anyway, yeah, it was that one's not regrettable. So I wonder what it was that I stopped on earlier because we knew we were, anyway. The Butt one's a good one. Yeah, the San Marino flex, probably should have held on to that.
And what about your best move?
I I mean, I kind of just want to say like believing in this project from the beginning was probably like the most, because when I started buying, when I started like actually like spending money, this thing was sketchy,
Yeah.
like we had, it was like before they even came on Twitch and talked to us and everything. So yeah, I think that was probably my one of the few times where my optimism actually worked in my favor. It usually bites me, but I think believing in from the beginning is probably the best thing I could have done.
That's quite a good one. I like that. Yeah. Well put. Right. Next up, we have Herein, and they are asking, what's your opinion on, this is on quite a recent one actually, what's your opinion on Shane freezing suspicious accounts? I'm guessing this is in relation to the recent suspected bots that got froze.
Right. And I definitely have mixed feelings on this one because in some ways the way that the staking has been all junked up is frustrating, and nobody wants to play that game again. I think the idea, I thought the idea with staking was we were supposed to be able to look at the claim and decide whether we believed it or not, and kind of like, but it's not now. It's just like, how fast can you click? So I don't like that, and if it's because of bots that caused that, then I'm not stoked on that. But I don't even necessarily believe. I mean, if you think about like we supposedly have how many players on the platform? I mean, I don't know what the numbers are as far
Total
as
of like 200,000, and people are saying it's 3 to 5,000 daily active users.
okay, so yeah, even if you go with the smallest part of that number, if we have 3,000 active users, and it's what, 10 people get to stake a claim or something like that. It's a
It
small number.
depends on the size of the
Size of
plot.
the
Yeah.
property, but it's not a lot, not a big number, you know.
Yeah.
So it's like for that to go quickly seems natural
Yeah.
if people are willing to put their essence out without doing the research.
Yeah.
And for me, I don't. Have you staked much? Have you backed
I
a lot
think
of
I'm
claims?
probably in for about 3,000 total. Well, since the start, I've had some of it back, but I've probably managed to do about 3,000 in total.
Okay. Yeah, for me, I don't feel comfortable because I don't have like the way that you have to be quick like that. I
Yeah.
don't really have time to check it, and I don't want to throw my essence away.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of when it comes to like the bot thing, it kind of seems hard to imagine wanting to create a script to throw like to spend your essence blindly.
But
Uh
it wouldn't necessarily be blind, because I think a lot of the ones that there was one that was basically announced that it existed. There was one bot that a certain user group were asking for it to be for people to stop using it because they knew it existed. And I think you could kind of have a bot that specifically looks for properties that have got like min.dat links and stuff like that in. So I don't think they'd just be auto claiming everyone that they come across. I think they'd just be looking for specific links on the claims, and then you could automatically have it then stake. I don't think they would just do 100% of them.
but you can put any min.dat link
Yeah, yeah, I'm
in
aware, but
there.
the chances of
Like
it,
a lot of them don't. They're not even like the same continent as the property that's being claimed, or
but the
like
chances of it being a successful claim if there's a min.dat link in it rather than literally zero links and zero images is
yeah,
certainly gonna boost it. Because remember, you only need a 51% success rate for your entirety of your staking to have been worth it.
right.
So even
Right.
if
What
you,
I mean, and I like, I at one point I haven't done this, but
yeah,
at one point I was like, it might be worth 4.95 just to burn the essence. You know what I mean? Like I might like, you know, it's like the thought, the strategy crossed my mind. It's like, why don't I just go stake all the biggest plots I have with total junk just to reduce the total supply of the essence, you know, for
because
$5. Like some of
with
for a
5 billion
couple thousand
essence,
essence.
you would need to do a hell of a lot of claims to burn a decent
Yeah,
amount, to be
it
honest.
depends. I mean, somebody that's holding, I don't have enough essence to, but somebody that's holding a
Like
million
Arya
essence,
or
or
something. Yeah.
right, exactly. Oh yeah, which by the way, that brings us back. But no, I'm way too off topic.
Yeah.
The question that we were answering was about the banning accounts.
Yes.
So we talked about my opinion on the bots or whatever, whatever. As far as banning accounts goes, that's kind of sketchy because we're like supposedly moving towards like a blockchain, like
Decentralized.
decentralized thing. And as somebody who's put a significant amount of money in, the thought of them being able to take that away, like we were talking before about like the permanence of this property ownership, and anything that would make that ownership vulnerable, um I have some concerns about. So I don't. But and again though, it's like to have a player that has enough essence to just like have a bot throwing it at these claims. Like there has to be a somewhat significant account. You can't just create a new account and run a bot and stake essence
Yeah,
because
you
you
need the essence
have to
in the first
have the
place.
essence.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, so I have mixed feelings about it because I don't like the way that staking's gone down,
Yeah.
but I also don't think that it has to be because of bots.
No, I agree. I think the bot issue was a tiny percent of the claims that were going there. As you see,
Right.
there's only so many spots on each one, and if you've literally got a couple of hundred or even a couple of thousand people, like you're going to have very limited chance of getting in, especially if
Right.
people are sitting refreshing. I completely
But
agree with you on the main issue with staking is that we do not have time to look at the evidence behind it. I completely object to how
yeah,
that is done.
there should be
Yeah,
some kind of like period of I don't know
yeah,
how that would work, but there's some room for improvement there.
yeah,
But again, we were told that he wants us to be player hacky. So in some ways, like the bot issue has always kind of been
Yeah.
in limbo. But then at the same time, he issued a very clear warning in this case.
Uh-huh.
In this particular case, he gave everyone like this is the ruling on this particular issue,
Yeah.
and this is the time. Like he had, there was a time and a day and time of like you must stop using your bots as of this time.
Yeah.
So that with that being said, he, you know, they could have turned them off. Oh, I don't know. Supposedly, a lot of the accounts that were banned were like not even using bots.
Well, they've
Suppose, you
been
know.
reinstated now as well, I think.
Oh,
Anyway, as
okay,
far as I know,
good.
they've.
Good to hear.
I don't
Yeah.
know if it's all, but there's definitely at least been some of them reinstated after they've manually looked into it. I think they were just kind of looking for like triggers. It was probably similar amounts of, well, the same amount of time between the clicks of the mouse and stuff like that repeatedly on the things, which you can kind of, if you're using macros and stuff like that as well, if you set up like a chain of keys on one of your shortcut keys to automatically press these numbers, it's like that would do the same as if you set it for a bot and stuff as well. But then you could even get around that with a bot by just changing the
Right. Well, I
numbers
mean,
to be
how is a
random between
macro
and stuff
different than
anyway.
a bot?
I think a bot is automated, whereas a macro you would have to be manually doing them on each claim. So yeah, in my
I
mind,
mean, you can have a
different.
macro
Yeah,
run for you can. Yeah. Anyway.
yeah. I mean, to be fair, I don't really know much about bots, and I don't really know much about macros, so I probably wouldn't be the
Yeah.
best person to kind of
Yeah.
talk that over.
I'm
Anyway, to be
picturing
fair.
R2D2 here, like pushing button. No. But anyway.
Right. So the next question is from E2 Piehead, and they are asking, "What's the significance of the tile art at Cosmic Charlie's, particularly the constellations? And do you have a thing about bears?"
Do I have a thing about bears? Okay, so yeah, the heat map art at Cosmic Charlie's. Uh, in the very beginning, or not the very beginning, but early on in the Cosmic Charlie days, everyone was doing this amazing tile art. But tiles there, the tier one tiles at the time in Honduras were kind of expensive. And so I wanted to do something to like make the place stand out on the map, but it was kind of a lot. And so I did the little bear. So the bears I assume he's asking about or were the very first tile art there.
Is that the ones that
And
can
that
see at
was
the side of your head?
what's that?
Is that the ones that can see just at the side of your head?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think like they're like right up in this. My picture's really small, but they're right up in that area. Yeah. And at first, I think that was even like pre-heat map. And so I just kind of like did them to look neat with my flags or whatever. It was really like kind of rudimentary and simple, but I wanted to have something on the map before it got like cost prohibitive because things were, starting weird. I think tier one tiles in Honduras are 78 cents or something like that. So to do something like that was adding up. So I kind of snuck that in when I could. Those bears are known as the dancing bears.
Okay.
It was like a Grateful Dead thing, great American rock band from 60s to 90s that kind of like I said, a lot of the music festivals when I was growing up that I went to were Grateful Dead themed. That the band had kind of fallen apart at that point, but the music lives on, and so that was something that came to my mind when I was like, what kind of tile art on a festival? When I was thinking on a smaller scale, and then when Tier Two was released and the heat map was a thing, I liked the idea of like at first I didn't understand what the heat map was for or like
Uh-huh.
why heat map. And as I was thinking about it, I was like, okay, like you're going to be able to zoom out and see what's going on where.
Yeah.
And I was like, I want to make this as bright as I can. Like I want to make my spot glow. And it's easy to forget how big the world is and how many tiles there are and how many players there are and how hard. Like I was picturing, I was like, I can just buy all these single tiles and this place is going to stand out on like a global level.
Yeah.
And in some ways that's unrealistic because there's a lot of it's a big world out there. But in other ways, like I did kind of succeed in that, especially with the shape of the like I wanted that outline. I wanted it to be a defined space because I wanted it to be something that can sell out.
Uh-huh.
And so that was kind of the idea with the border. But now that I have that border and I have all the heat map art inside of there, I can find the project from the heat map on like a continental level. Like if you're looking at Central America, I can pick it out, you know, and that's helpful for me right now because I have to, you know, find resources on the heat map in that area and stuff. So already I'm using it, and it succeeded in that way. And I think in the future, you know, the idea of generating traffic, you know, we want people to find our projects, we want people to come to our projects. And early on, it was like the heat map and the EPLs are the only two ways that that's going to happen, that you're going to get people to your spot. So so I wanted my heat map to be bright, you know, that was the thing. And then when jewels started to be pretty obviously tied to, you know, per property or whatever, when single tiles were winning the jewel race,
It just made sense.
it made sense, and it was a good investment. I mean, a lot of that heat map art was done when a single jewel was selling for more than a single tier 2 tile. So as soon as that tile generates that one jewel, it has recouped its, you know. So I was selling jewels and buying tiles for weeks, months. It was a long time because most of that was done when the recapture was still on for tile purchases and
Oh
everything.
Jesus, yeah.
So yeah, I spent a lot of time all day, every day for many days doing that, and I loved it. It was just how I wanted to spend my time. It was fun for me. And we were watching all these people put in these single tile jewel farms, and they were just ugly. Like there are these big blocks on the map, and the people were like bragging about like, look at this, you know, jewel farm I put in. And it's like, you could have done that exact same thing like with intention. You know, like you could have like made it pretty, you
Yeah,
know.
that makes sense.
That's kind of what you know, I kind of wanted to combine all those things. I wanted to show up on the heat map to get people there. I wanted to buy tiles to get jewels, to buy tiles to get jewels. You know, to replace the jewels I was selling, basically. Because for a long time, I was hold jewels. Like, we're getting these jewels for a reason. We're going to need these jewels. People were selling them, and I was like, this is nuts. Like, why would you sell jewels? And then I was like, but wait, tiles, you know, the properties generate the jewels, and if you can recoup, you know, if you can sell one jewel and buy one tile, and then as soon as that, you know, so it's all those strategies together. And then to answer the question about the constellations, cosmic, you know, I was
Yeah,
just
that makes sense.
like, I was trying to think of things that were like somewhat relevant to what the project is. If you look at it on the map, you know, the name was suggested by a friend. My son's Charlie, and the name was suggested by a friend. Cosmic Charlie's Music. It was
It
right
does have a
before
really good ring to it.
yeah, it fits. I mean, unfortunately, like Cosmic Charlie is a thing, and
Is it?
so
Oh,
I believe it's like I believe it's a Grateful Dead thing. I think it's like a lyric in a song or a character from a song. And so there's things all over the country and the world named Cosmic Charlie's, this and that. So it's not super unique, but again, my son's Charlie, and this place is going to be out of this world. So the constellations, I wanted to do Orion. I personally have a thing because he said, "Do I have a thing for constellations?" And
he asked if you had a thing for bears.
a thing for bears. Okay,
Yeah,
and what's with the constellations?
yeah.
But yeah, I do. I have a thing for Orion. I spent a lot of time looking at it at different times in my life from different parts of the world, and I wanted to do that, but not so recognizable. You know, it wasn't something that people were like that. That's pretty unmistakable. I don't love the way those ones turned out. The constellations are actually probably my least favorite of
Okay,
the
yeah.
execution of. But I did map it out. They are spaced out like scientifically correct or whatever, and dumping the little dipper dumps into the big dipper as it should at the right angles and stuff. So, and that was a big project because they're spread. They're pretty far apart on the map. So to plan that all out, it was fun. I like it. I like a challenge.
I think the entire area is fantastic. It's probably for a full area and not just one specific tile art. It's probably the one that stands out most in all of Earth 2 for me, to be honest. And I think
Thank you.
that
I
is
appreciate it. Like I said, it was a big thing for me, and I had like, it made me need to like keep everything quiet too, because when you're in the middle of a project like that, I got interrupted a couple of times, and it's like when you're in a middle of something that's that big, because a lot of those like the individual art pieces are 2,000 tiles or whatever, and so to be like 1,200 tiles into something and then have someone
Somebody
come like
grabs a
build
plot.
something in your way
Yeah.
or whatever. So it was fun. I had to sneak around and and get it in there, and it's good. Again, I'm pretty happy with my jewel spawn still. And there's some okay, so I guess that would be the regret. How I said I forgot what I was gonna say I regretted earlier.
Okay.
uh the single tile game I go back and forth on, because for me it all started when the jewels were the +2 ether, and the slots per dollar was what we were after. It's like the more slots you can get to get more of those +2 ether jewels in there, the better.
Yeah.
And I was buying like hundreds of like tier 1 single tiles off the marketplace like every day,
Uh,
um and then draining the essence out of them and reselling them and buying more and draining, because you could back then. Now it's unpredictable how long it takes to drain the essence, but
yeah.
back there you could drain a single
Just pull them
tile
a
in
few jewels.
2 or 3 days. Yeah, fill them up with then the next day they're empty and you resell them. So I in some ways, and I obviously I got caught holding the hot potato or whatever in that strategy, because now I still own way more than I would like to of single. Like, I kind of think single tiles are crap for the ecosim, and
I think they're gonna give you a big bonus in the things that you need to play the eco sim though. There was somebody, I can't recall who it was, but there was somebody even showing calculations the other week that you get more essence for the smaller tiles as well. If you compare
mm,
the small plots to the 750s on a whole, the smaller ones are generating more than the 750 would over time in comparison to the number of tiles. So it's not even just the number of jewels that you're getting, it's the essence that you're getting as well. Obviously, there'll be
mm.
massive benefits to the larger plots later on in terms of what we can build and how we can slot and stuff. But for now, I definitely think your smaller plots are going to pay off in dividends. And then, worst case scenario later on, you can, well, potentially connect them up together anyway.
Right. Well, the ones I was buying off the marketplace are just literally like
Oh, okay.
one
Yeah.
time. Like, I was just like I was going down the list and just buying all the cheap, you know what I mean? Like a couple hundred of them at a time. And so there's just, it's all over the place. So there are days where I regret doing that. There are days where it's like, why do I own all these ones? And sometimes I'm like, okay, I need to like sell these off. But then I'm like, but what about the jewels? Like in a lot of ways, yeah, they're everything has a purpose, and that's kind of with the balance in the strategy, is that it's like you need like, I want to have top tier jewels making my big properties work as efficiently as possible all the time. But in order to do that, having all these going, because there's, like, in my opinion, especially with my portfolio, there's zero sense in slotting your small properties. Like
Yeah.
one tile property, you're getting such a small increase, requiring multiple jewels. So they're the producer, that's their role in the ecosim at this point. And so some days I regret it, but I think that it can't hurt to hold them. Plus, the essence that came from them, right off the
Yeah.
bat, it should
You've
cover.
more than paid for the tile anyway, especially with the kind of the jewels that you'll continue to get and stuff as well. Yeah. In my opinion, you definitely did the right thing in terms of single tile properties. I wish I got on that. My one regret is that my tier one Shun City roads, I didn't build all of those in single tiles. If I had kind of reversed time a bit, I would have done the entirety of my road structure in single tiles.
Oh wow,
Yeah.
interesting. See, I like my thought. I'd never considered a single tile road really. My thought with the roads was always interconnected, because when you go, like, for a minute I was trying to put like hollow building roads down, and
Yeah, I've
because
done
there's
that.
that border in between, like, they need to be all one property. And then again with that, I like the idea of having one large property that it connects everything together.
Okay.
It won't be, we know now it would definitely won't be needed for transportation because of the
Yeah, the
19
roads that we're
whatever.
already going to have.
But
Yeah.
for aesthetics and for that collaboration reward.
Yeah. But to be fair, we might still end up even using them for roads because we might end up the roads that we're getting by default aren't particularly huge. So we could use ours as kind of like highways and motorways and the kind of the bigger, more transporty ones rather than just pedestrian roads.
Right, exactly. Like plaza, like that's what I'm looking
Yeah.
at, like corridor, especially with the music festival. A lot of
Yeah.
times in an environment like that, there aren't even vehicles,
Uh,
and everyone's
just
walking, but
gathering
there's
spaces
people that
instead, though.
walk and hang out, and you
Yeah.
know what I mean, like set up along. So that's like in my project, the roads are not huge properties, but they're connected, and then lining the roads are lots of small things, because I'm picturing at an event like that you would have vendors or people camping or whatever along the so yeah, I had a lot of fun imagining. I like the imagination that goes with all that.
Even trade routes as well. I recall. I'm not sure if it came specifically from Shane or if it was just an F2 thing
Wolfgang.
in Gent. No, it was definitely way after Wolfgang, the thing that I'm thinking about.
Oh,
But
okay. I never. Yeah, he brought. Yeah. Okay.
they said that some of the best. I can't recall exactly what they said, but it was basically kind of inferring that people with the best trade routes would potentially do quite well from the ecosim and stuff like that. And it's like, well, how do you establish a trade route? Like, is it literally just things flying backwards and forwards? Because anybody
Yeah.
could take over the trade route if it was that. So, like, surely in my head, the only thing that could let you own a trade route is if you literally own the route. So, yeah, we'll
Right.
see if anything kind of
Right.
comes from that.
Yeah. No, I had. So there was the Wolfgang thing I was referring to was super early on. I mean, that might have been like January of 21. But very early on, he made some kind of reference for like how you're getting things from place to place.
Yeah.
And at that point, again, how do you? It's kind of impossible to imagine. I mean, there were people like trying to like build the Equator Road or whatever, and all those things are kind of hard to fathom. But so I went, like, the only way I could prepare myself for that was being coastal, like ports. Like, I'm thinking ports and boats, but we definitely haven't seen anything about water and water travel at all. And the acquisition, like the whole drone thing, makes me think that flying is definitely going to
Yeah, it's definitely going to be
be a
flying.
part
Yeah.
of it at some point.
But even if we do get flying, how are we going to defend that airspace without having some sort of defense buildings on the ground? If we do opt into the PvP elements anyway, but I'm guessing that'll come into the transport, or otherwise, why would it be good transportation routes? But anyway,
Right. Well, and
yeah,
they talked in one of the vlogs about the transportation and the
yeah,
smaller vehicles, smaller cargo, faster, more efficiently, bigger vehicles
yeah,
with more cargo, slower. So I think we're going to deal with, there's going to be cost involved,
yes, yeah.
whether it's energy, whether it's,
So it's kind
anyway.
of like logistics in the real world, where you've got to kind of get a good value in the larger vehicles to make sure that the trip is going to be worth it and stuff as well. Yeah, so it could literally just
So
be
maybe we
down to,
can fly, but we can only fly with a carry-on bag, or you know what I mean, so to
yeah,
speak. And like the drone, I don't know, does drone, I haven't played much drone, so I don't know how the like weight and everything factors in, but
I don't think it does. I haven't played drone a ton, but I can't recall weight being an issue.
yeah,
No,
which
no,
would be an obvious mechanic,
yeah,
but yeah, so I'm excited to see what comes of it, but I
yeah,
don't know, hopefully I'm hoping for some ports. Well, and again, that's kind of now why my current scramble is resources where I need them,
yeah. Stuff
resource
as close to
properties
home as you
within the
can.
vicinity. Yeah.
Yeah.
And coal's going to be an interesting one for that.
Cool. How so?
The heat map, I mean, I haven't looked in the last few days, but the heat map for coal is very spread. Like, it's like very heavily like Europe,
Okay.
and
Yeah.
and there's a little bit in like South America,
Yeah.
but there doesn't seem, and like you said, I know your theory is that people just haven't really like sought after it, and that we're
Yeah.
gonna come across it where we haven't found it yet. And that would be great, but yeah, there's gonna be some interesting implications when it comes to this game.
Yeah. I've got a coal flex, but it was one I specifically researched and went for before coal dropped. I knew it was an actual coal mine in the real world. I haven't kind of got I don't think I've got any properties where I accidentally stumbled across coal. It was a place that I specifically looked for, and I've put 2 claims in for coal on 2 of my home city plots as well, because historically my home city was a massive mining town. There's literally just coal everywhere, to the point of people used to send the kids down on the beach, or they used to walk down the beach in the free times and literally pick coal off the sand. There was that much of an abundance of it, and use it in the fires to burn in the homes and stuff. So I knew the history of that to put the claim in. But yeah.
Yeah, I would say that sounds like a pretty good. I like your personal backing on that one. That sounds pretty obvious there. Then, yeah, and limestone's going to be interesting too. Well, and that okay. So back to the tweets. I know we're running way over, but
I know which tweet you're talking about now.
So it started with so the tweet was, heads up that when Earth 2 Hollow Building trading is released later this week, we will also be restricting the ability to create limestone claims. Some initial approvals for limestone shortly, honored with 1-to-1 rewards, right? And then this is the part I was referring to earlier about blah blah blah. These are improved. Okay, so I got to read the whole thing. There is another change coming too, one I am sure will be very welcome to the community, as many have requested it and have made complete sense to me. These are improvements I was previously being blocked on releasing. I will tweet about the specifics over the next couple of days.
Okay.
So that was interesting. And then Arya chimed in, and Shane's reply to that is, well, Arya was asking if it was the board. The board is always against you or whatever. Shane says, ironically, not the board. I try not to be too constrictive in areas others are responsible for designing, especially with smaller details, but sometimes enough is enough. There will be a few changes coming now and moving forward as I take back more control in these areas. So to me, that's real interesting.
Have you got any speculation on what that could be in regards to?
None.
Yeah. Nothing jumps to my mind either.
I haven't really processed that one yet. But the fact that he was blocked on releasing features, is that what he called it? And then he's taking back more control in these areas.
Alexa, stop. Sorry, I was talking to my Alexa. It was putting a reminder on.
Every time, I feel like every time that Shane has expressed the fact that he's like regaining possession of this baby, things start to really go well. So I don't know what he's talking about, but I like it. I'm optimistic about it, and I think it's probably a good thing.
Yeah. The only things that I've been, while you've just been talking about it there, the only things that have jumped to my mind is he ages back he said there was a couple more Essence airdrops that he had planned, and then we saw nothing from them since. So maybe they got blocked, and now he's going to want to do them again. That comes to mind. And there was another one. What was I just thinking of? There was something else I was thinking of, but it's gone now. No, we'll just have to move on because it is gone.
I'm rubbing off on you. You're catching my lack of retention.
No, it's just because we'll go off on passionate tangents, so it gets lost, but it's all good. Next, we're on to Paul Archer, and he is asking, how many different kinds of players do you think there'll be? But this has already been defined in the draft paper that there's 5 different kinds of players. So I'm not sure what your take on this is.
Yeah, that was my thought when I read the question. I was like, man, I'm gonna have to go back and like reread that, because I thought there was, but I mean, as with resources, like we're obviously not going to have just these resources forever. We're obviously not going to have just these jewels. So what Paul's saying could be completely relevant. And when you look at it that way, like big picture, long term, phase 3, how many different players are there? Different kinds of players are there in Earth 1? Like,
how many different job types?
Like, right, exactly. Like how many, like people have so many different intentions and different goals, and one thing I say a lot is everyone has their own version of success, and you're going to be the kind of player that's hopefully going to get you to that point. So
I like that saying. That's a good saying, actually.
Yeah, it's something that I've been reminding myself a lot recently, because we all have very different perspectives, and we all have a very different version of success. And although, I mean, in some ways we all want the same thing, right? But we all have like a different way of envisioning that. So I think there's going to be unlimited. There's going to be so many different kinds of players, and like I said, I have trouble putting myself into, even when just given those 5 categories, I have trouble putting myself into just one of them.
I don't think there's many of us who've got portfolios of this size who would be able to go into just one category.
Yeah, because don't they have landowner and ecosim player?
Yeah. Lots of us are obviously going to go across them. I've got them here, actually. Let us go across them. Right. So five different player types. We've got the base player, landowner, ego sim player, the gamer, and the creator. I mean, off the top of my head, I'm definitely going to be creator because I create content, especially for the social media stuff that is going to come out. The gamer, I'll definitely be playing the game. The ego sim player, the gamer and the ego sim player kind of go hand in hand for me anyway. Landowner, I'm definitely that. And base player, I can't remember what the defined base player as, but I would imagine I'll fit into that one as well. So that was just a starting player, wasn't it? That was a player who hadn't found their player type.
Okay,
If
that
I
would
remember
that would
correctly.
make sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'd literally fit into 4 or 5 of those.
Yeah. And for me, especially when you separate eco sim player and gamer,
Yeah.
I've never really been a gamer. Like I've
Okay.
always like the games that I've really gotten into have been eco sim type games, you know. So yeah, for that I'm really really counting on the kids. I've definitely raised my son's 6 and I've definitely raised him to be a gamer. So hopefully I can get his interest into Earth 2 when the time is right.
Get the child labor in.
That's right. That's right.
Right. Next, we're on to Yina, and she is asking, how have you been since you stopped your business? What are your plans for the future in and out of E2? Yeah, I want to give a little bit of back context for this as well for people who don't follow you on Twitter and such.
Sure, sure. Yeah, and this is a heavy one. I don't know how deep we want to get into it, but yeah, so basically backstory for the last 11 years, 12 years, I made stuff and sold it. Wooden jewelry. I have like a laser cutter machine
So,
and a little wood shop, and I was making wooden jewelry and selling it. And in the beginning, I was super passionate about it, and I was like working 14-hour days and just really loving it and building business. Had people working for me, and we were doing really well. Then I kind of burnt out on it and like stepped way back, and lately like my machines haven't been working well, and I was like very frustrated with it, and it made me be a different, like I wasn't who I wanted to be because I was like angry and frustrated with my job. And so yeah, so I basically called, like I was like, this is it, I'm not doing this anymore. Like and I put up, because I've been doing it for a while, I have some like regular customers who, you know, only wear my jewelry or
okay.
whatever and this and that. And so I felt like I should put a time period. So I like made an announcement with my social medias and stuff for then my Twitter is Earth 2 Friends, but for my business pages and stuff, I was like, look, month and a half, kind of gave like a month and a half notice.
Okay.
And anyway, I the new job is great. But I'm still kind of in a transition period where I'm not working as much as I would like to.
Okay.
So there, you know, to answer her question, I'm great. Like I'm very relieved in the decision to like step away from what I've been doing. But I do look forward to like getting into like a little more. Part of it was like the stability, making and selling stuff online. You're like retail sales, so your income today has nothing to do with what you're gonna make, you know, like you might not sell anything tomorrow. And when COVID hit, my sales went to zero.
Okay.
I had never had a $0 day in the last 10 years, and then they went to zero for like weeks.
I
And I
suppose
was
if you're not going out and about, what's the point in new jewelry to show off? Yeah, I guess that
right,
kind of
right. And
makes
people
sense.
are,
Yeah.
yeah, they're not worried about it. It's
Yeah.
and that's the thing, it was very like unnecessary. Like what I was selling was like, they're like gifts, they're like little fun, you
Yeah.
know what I mean? It's not anything that anybody needs. And so yeah, so so I was looking for something more stable so I didn't have to like feel day to day.
Yeah.
And I haven't gotten to that point with this new job yet because the way it schedules and stuff like that, I'm just not working all the time yet. But I've been great, and I think it was the right decision. I still, okay, and to be completely fair, I still haven't gotten out from under the old job yet
Okay.
because I've been having these issues with my equipment. And so like I gave people a period of time to like get their orders in, and then my laser stopped working like right before the end. And so now I'm like still struggling to, and it's almost like a month later
Fill
after I
those
was,
back orders.
so hasn't been a smooth transition, but it's the right decision. And and it's good because for a long time I was like just trying to hang on to that until I could full-time Earth 2.
Uh-huh.
And I don't think it would have been right to wait. I think this is going to be good because it's going to allow me to be comfortable and hang on to some of my stuff. Like for a minute I was like I was selling jewels to pay bills for a while.
Yeah.
And so to be able to get going in this new position and hang on to my essence and use it to upgrade and use it to develop my project and stuff like that. So yeah, I like it. I'm doing good. Thanks, Ina.
Glad things are going a bit better. So is that your long-term goal to just be a full-time Earth 2 player as well? Would you transition from the new position fully into Earth 2 if you had the potential to do that?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that once we get a little bit further into this ecosim, I don't think I'm gonna have time to do anything else.
Yeah.
So I sincerely think that I will not be available to work
Yeah.
once this game starts. But in the meantime, and I would like some overlap. I think that
Yeah.
for a while, I mean, there's the urgency isn't going to be, we're going to be still stacking and accumulating, and I can do the like once daily stuff. Although not if it's property by property, I wouldn't be able to do the once daily stuff,
Yeah, not across all of
from
them.
the
Yeah.
road or
Yeah.
whatever. But no, this job that I'm doing now, I think I can probably only physically do it for 2 or 3 years. Like
Okay.
when I first signed up for it, I was just like, I can do this for a short, you know what I mean, for a couple
Yeah.
years. So I think no matter what, I'm gonna do this for a year or 2 or 3, and
No,
then it's gonna be on to something else.
that makes sense. Right.
Hopefully, hopefully our game.
Fingers crossed. I certainly wouldn't mind as well. I think it would take a lot for me to go full time in Earth 2. Like I'm a single dad in a single income household. So for me to go fully into Earth 2, like I would have to know there was a good solid foundation there. So I'd have to be kind of making a half decent income for at least a few years. But I would definitely go at least part time in my Earth 1 business and part time in Earth 2. I wouldn't mind finding a balance between the two of those before I did go full time if there was an option to go there. Yeah.
I think you've set yourself up a great foundation with this channel and your content. I think
Thank you.
that
Yeah.
in addition to your portfolio, I think that you're doing a great job, and you're gonna be busy too.
Thank you. Fingers crossed it actually starts paying off when we do get the proper user base coming back. Because
Yeah, well, again, it's when you look at it like the adoption thing. Like right now, it's like, oh, we have a couple 100,000 users. That's great, but like the potential for this to be like millions of users,
yeah, like a household name.
like, is there.
Yeah.
And at that point in time, like you know, we all everybody who's in this community right now was there from the beginning. You know what I mean? Like we're established, and so I think it's gonna be great, Pace.
Yeah, I agree, mate. Right, next up we have Viking, and he is asking, do you think this is going back to what your Twitter stays as well? Do you think 33 years is enough training? And that's
You
with
know,
your
I would say that well, and okay, to be fair, I haven't been playing SimCity like my whole life.
yeah.
Like I hit it hard. I hit it really hard in 1989 or whatever when it first came out, and for some years. And I did play SimCity 2000 for a while, and got into like that was cool with like the arcologies and stuff. Um but yeah, so to be fair, I haven't been training the whole time. Yes, I think a lot of it's going to be common sense and like a build, like the willingness to like consider the numbers and the way things work and all that. And yeah, I think it's enough training. But the time travelers among us and all the experience that they have is definitely superior. I think folks like tech ops who have had hundreds of years to prepare are probably the best off.
Yeah, I'd agree. Tetrox has definitely got some sort of advantage.
Mm-hmm.
If that's
Yeah,
if he comes back, because he's a bit AFK at the moment, isn't he? He's been vanished from F2 for a while.
I've seen him come up in the tracker. I don't think he like.
Okay.
I think he's still doing stuff. I don't know. I haven't heard from, unfortunately. Yeah, those were the good old days. But
yeah.
but Yeah, no, the time travelers and the fortune tellers. That was one thing from the beginning when really if you're trying to like judge based on like the big players from the beginning were fortune tellers and time travelers, like good sign if you ask me.
I would agree with that. Right. Let's move on to Viking's second question. And he is asking, in 3 years' time, describe to us all what will happen when you sit down at your computer and log on to Earth 2.
How many years time? I'm sorry.
3 years' time.
3 years time, what will happen? When we sit down at our computer. Yeah, we'll probably still be sitting down at computers in 3 years.
Specifically
Um,
in regards to logging on to Earth 2, though.
what happens when we log on to Earth 2? Man, we're gonna be in 3D. It's gonna be awesome. I mean, from what we've seen so far, what's gonna happen? I don't know. But yeah, no, I think we're gonna be from what we've seen with the vlogs and E2V1, we're gonna be in a beautiful world. In 3 years, there's gonna be buildings and
Yeah.
there's gonna be some buzzing parts, and there's still gonna be a lot of pristine environment left
I'll
still
definitely
for
put
sure
that
in
out.
three
Yeah.
years. So I think it's gonna be beautiful. I think it's gonna be great.
Yeah, I would agree. I think we'll have a kind of traditional style game in the Ego Sim. We'll probably have drawn the game as a separate one, which I think, but maybe it's joint like you think, and then we'll have the F2 social media. I don't think we'll be too crazy with any. Well, I don't think there'll be any virtual reality elements or anything like that in 3 years'
No,
time.
no,
Yeah,
not 3 years.
yeah,
No, yeah, 3 years. We'll still be on a screen.
yeah.
Like I said, I wouldn't have originally put us in 3D in 3 years. I would have
Okay.
thought, well, I guess we're already like a year and a half into it, so that's 4 years. But still, I wouldn't have expected that. But I think from what we're seeing now, we're gonna be in 3D, and it's gonna be awesome.
Yeah, it will be. I'd agree with that. And then we can kind of gradually make it more realistic and build on the Ego Sim that's there and stuff as well, rather than switching to a completely new platform like we would have had to done if the Ego Sim came out in 2D. Yeah, so it'll
So,
be cool.
quick question back to you regarding your drone reference there again.
Yeah.
So, are you envisioning, with drone being like a kind of a separate thing, are you envisioning the transportation vehicles like for resources and whatnot in the ecosim being like automated, or are you
I,
envisioning them being player controlled?
I think we will be able to fly about E2V1 and stuff freely if we want to, but I think we will be able to set automated trade routes where our vehicles go do it after we've put the
Like
initial
this,
steps in for them to do it.
like the
Yeah.
sycophants or whatever
Yeah.
your whatever droid transportation droids or whatever that you can just like program them and send them off.
Yeah, exactly that. Yeah. Yeah. We just
Mhm.
kind of have to plan what they're going to do and then set it to repeat or set it off, and then it'll take X amount of time to complete that task or something like that. Yeah.
And I buy by that because when you look at the little prototype city they're showing in the vlogs, the vehicles are all kind of like, you
Yeah.
know what I mean? They're not like going on their own path,
They're not
although there
being
is some
drove about by players,
aerodynamic.
kind of thing.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, they look kind of automatic, so that'll be interesting. Yeah, I can't wait to learn more about the the sycophants and all those types of things.
Yeah, me too. There's going to be more as well. Kind of, I can't remember. Shane did say another name of one of them. I can't remember what it was, but I think there's going to be a few. I think we might have to decide on factions or something like that we're choosing. In my head, I think we're going to get our sycophants or whatever they are based on which one we choose or something like that. Yeah, or maybe it's some sort of research path or in the tech tree or something. But yeah, I'm really interested to see kind of where that goes as well. It's like kind of they've hinted and teased at things without giving us enough information to kind of get our teeth stuck in. But yeah, I'm super curious. So if you guys are wondering why the video cuts out now and again and stuff, I get 40 minutes maximum recording times on Zoom, and then I have to start a new session. It's just because I haven't upgraded to Pro. I've noticed that you've sent us a couple of properties while we've been on a break as well. Thank you very much, mate.
Oh yeah,
Was that the
the
campground
first
you were
break. I
talking
hit
about
you to the
earlier?
couple campsites. Yeah, yeah.
I've just noticed them when I checked there. Thank you very much. We'll just get straight back to the questions though. E2 Ireland is asking, it's a bit of a random one. If you could be a jewel, which one would you be?
Ooh, you know, I would have to pick Sunset, and it's
Okay.
ironic because I don't have very many of them.
Okay.
I never really went that route because the extra jewel was required or whatever. But yeah, I mean, if I had to be a jewel, I love sunsets.
So is that
There was
just
a
for the aesthetics rather than the buffs that it provides?
Yeah, totally,
Fair
totally.
enough.
Yeah, right. I mean, if I had to be a jewel, I don't know. Yeah, as far as benefits, you know, uh, yeah,
No, that's fair enough. I think it's a good answer. Yeah.
we
To
could make
be,
it brilliant. We could be a brilliant. I could be a brilliant sunrise or a brilliant sunset, rather.
yeah, and then you'd be super rare. Yeah, I like
Yeah,
that.
exactly. Yeah.
How many times have you dislotted that is also from E2 Islands?
Oh man. Once,
Okay, that's not bad.
yeah. I with the profile that I have, and now they have made some improvements. The slotting page definitely works much better now than it used to,
Yeah,
but it used to be really difficult for me to even like scroll
because
through
they
the
just wouldn't
slotting
load
page.
in.
So I was pretty like I didn't slot too many times. I mean, I've never, well, okay, ever since the +2
Yeah.
ether went away, that was the last time I had every slot filled on every property. Since then, I move things around. I mean, I definitely probably once a week I go into the slotting page and I like look at what I have where and make sure I didn't miss anything, and I justify, because I can justify taking the tier threes a little further down and stuff.
Uh-huh.
But as far as like taking all of the, okay, and that was one of the few times I've used macros or anything. I did actually have a macro unslot for me.
Okay,
Uh
yeah,
and that was fun. Just like a clicker. Like I just
yeah.
like programmed a little clicker
I
to
don't
get
think
the
UFC would have any objections to that, to be honest. I think
no, no,
they
yeah,
could have
no,
built some
that
better tools in for it. Yeah,
I think that at least at that time, the ruling was like anything that doesn't involve other players
yeah.
or whatever. Like you weren't, you're not supposed to be buying properties or placing bids or certainly staking essence. But as far as like proper, because there's a lot of scripts that are like publicly available that do things. I've never used
Yeah.
any other script,
Like
but
the ones from me high.
when it came time to take all those jewels out of those slots, I went ahead and
I can't
had
blame you with that many properties. I've never fully deslotted and reslotted. I have adjusted them kind of as I'm going, like what you were saying,
hmm,
getting rid of the +2s, and then I filled all of my plots with T1 jewels, and now that I've got them all full, I'm gradually kind of replacing some of those with T3 jewels. Now that I've got the spare jewels to be able to craft those and stuff as well. Obviously,
nice,
just me
nice.
me largest plots first. But yeah, I've never done a full unslot and a full reslot ever,
Yeah.
and I wouldn't like
Yeah,
to.
no, it's just too, again, the page works much better now. Like
Yeah,
I have great things to say about the improvements they've made there. But for a while it was just impossible. Like
yeah.
you'd like scroll down and the same properties that you've already done, it was just like it didn't work for a while. And I was like, I'm not doing that.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, they've come a long way. And now I'll make little deals with myself because I don't like the idea of getting less jewels or less essence ever. Like
Yeah.
what I have now is like I would like to stay there. So when I want to sell, like yesterday, I took a bunch of Jamaicas and sunrises off of like my 14 tile properties or whatever, and my deal was there that I had to put 6 times as many commons on 4 tile properties or whatever, because I
So
I
you're
want
getting
to
that
balance
additional
out the
ether. Yeah.
right, exactly, to balance out because I was taking the 2% off of the 14s, but the 4% of lack of detection from the empty slots, so I just kind of balance. I make little mathematical deals with myself and try and keep up with them when it comes to slotting.
That makes sense. It's a kind of good way of looking at it. But you kind of, by doing that, you're forcing yourself to do the work as well. If you're saying, well, I've got to do this, you're not going to let yourself off the computer until you've done those slotting and stuff as well. So
Yeah,
that's
and
stopping you coming
usually
up with
it's
excuses.
productive
Yeah.
procrastination for me often
Yeah.
when I end up slotting. There's something else in real life that I'm putting off. So I'm like, okay, well I'll just I'll move these jewels around first before I get to work, or I'll
Okay,
take a
maybe
break.
maybe it's not that good a thing for you then, unless it does kind of
But
turn into a
it's
job, and then
it's
I guess
all
it's been worth it. Yeah.
it's all progress.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. The last one from E2 Islands, and it's another playful one. Does pineapple belong on pizza?
You know, everyone is everyone likes different things, and I don't judge. You know, you can put pineapple on pizza if you want to. Personally, it's very low on the list of things that I would choose, but you know, I'm not one of those like it's never, you know. I don't order it. I go for anything else first, but you're welcome to have, so I'll even order half and half if you know, if
Oh
you
no, you
like.
might get the juices on your half. So
See, that's the thing. I'm not weird about it like that. You can, you know, like I'm not freaked out about it. And if I'm somewhere where, like, if I'm at a place ordering like pre-made slices that are out,
yeah,
if the pineapple one looks like it's like the freshest and most delicious,
yeah,
just you
okay.
know what I mean. Like I'm that kind of pizza orderer. I'll if they're all in front of me and I'm choosing one, I'll just pick the freshest, prettiest one.
Yeah, I would never tell anybody off for having pineapple on pizza, but for me
Right.
personally, I think it is absolutely disgusting. But
Yeah.
I hate the mix of sweet and savory. Like I don't have, but I hate when you get like a curry that's got raisins or something like that in. It's like what the hell are you on about? Like I think that is
Yeah.
vile. Sweet and
Yeah.
sour sauce is one of the most disgusting things that I've ever tasted. But yeah, I'm very well
I
aware that
I can
people's taste buds are
understand that.
different. Yeah,
On that note, I think it was Jeremy that was talking about the McGriddle. Do you guys have McGriddles over there?
McGriddle? No, what's that?
It's like a McDonald's sandwich that's like a sweet, I don't know. Or there's one like a local donut shop in town here that makes breakfast sandwiches like on donuts.
Okay, yeah.
And so that's an exception. That would be an exception to my sweet and savory, you know. But
I don't think
otherwise,
I would
I
do that.
agree.
Yeah.
It's surprisingly, yeah, I don't know. It's surprising how it works. It's,
I'd
you
probably
know,
try it at least once to see, but
yeah.
I was going to say I've
Yeah.
never found a sweet savory combination that I like, but that is a lie because I like a halloumi and sweet chili sauce sandwich.
Okay.
Yeah, that actually works. Okay, so
Right.
maybe there is exceptions to the rule. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Like I never would have ordered a McGriddle. It was given to me like accidentally at a drive-through window one time, and I ate
Okay.
it, and it was
Yeah.
it was delicious. I've never ordered it since then. You know what I mean? Like that's how I feel about that kind of stuff. It's like I appreciate it, but I wouldn't choose it.
Maybe we do have McGriddles then. Maybe it's just something that I've never ordered or saw on the menu and
Yeah,
I would like to.
probably. I mean, I
Yeah.
don't know. There are regional differences with all that kind of stuff,
Yeah.
and I wouldn't blame them if they left it off of there. But
That's fair enough. Right, next we're on to Ship, and he is asking, what part of E2's future excites you the most?
hmm, uh, I think the mass adoption probably like the I think that there's a good chance that this will be something that is well known and that has a very large number of users, and I think that that is the most exciting. Don't get me wrong, I love playing with you guys, but right now it is kind of a limited group. Like I was in the
Yeah.
marketplace the other day, just like I was looking for coal, and everything I was coming across, like I recognized the name of like every player.
Yeah.
And I love that. That's awesome. We have a great community, but I am very excited for the time when it becomes much more like the real estate market where you put a sign up and there's
Tons of
anyone
people
could
that
be
you
in
don't know
that.
who they
You
are.
know what I
Yeah.
mean? When it's a whole world, it's a whole world out there. I look forward to, you know, to it becoming an entire world.
Yeah. No, I'd agree with that. Like even in comparison to maybe a year ago, like the number of users that we've got kind of participating in the community stuff now is it's even a tiny fraction of what it was then. And
It's
I
true.
kind of missed the busier days, and it was a lot more exciting going on when you were seeing like hundreds or thousands of people getting excited about the same thing and stuff. If you pop in a
Mhm.
Discord now, you do have the same user. Like I was in Discord the other day, and there was even a 10-minute gap between the last messages. Like you would
Wow.
never ever seen that a year ago. It was literally
No,
like
it's true.
zoom 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 zoom, like just
Yeah, whenever it
constant.
was
Yeah,
quiet, it was weird. Yeah, it was weird when there was even like moments between back then. I haven't been in Discord forever. And I guess that's it. Like
yeah,
so it's kind of hard to say with each of the platforms and each of the things because there isn't like direct interaction like within the platform. It's
yeah.
kind of hard to say how representative that is of people not being active in the game or just not being that
No,
intertwined.
I definitely think there's a lot of users kind of. I don't think that there's. I don't think the majority of them have sold out and left the platform, but I think a lot of them have definitely kind of they're waiting for something more exciting to come along, or the kind of yeah, they're just kind of sitting on the investment and seeing what happens rather than actively partake in like what they used to. Yeah, I definitely
Absolutely.
like even a lot of the people that I interact with daily, like in group chats and stuff like that, have kind of dwindled off. And these are like players that you would have never expected from. So kind of the average community member who's just sitting on maybe a dozen tiles or a couple of hundred tiles, I definitely think tons of them have gone to sleep to wait and see what
Right.
they can do.
It's striking to me to see how many of the properties out there still don't have mentors.
Yes, I'd agree
You
with that.
know, like when I was looking at some of my gold mines, like these were, I bought them very, very early. It was, phase one stuff, and I wasn't the only one. Like my properties are surrounded in these actual gold mines by other users. And at first I was like, there's no other claims, like nobody's putting a claim for this mine. And then I looked and like none of them had mentors. And it's just, I think that so many of the people don't even like log in. And I actually saw a stream on, or not a stream, but whatever on Twitter the other day of people asking Shane like what's up with these absentee owners and what's going to happen.
Yeah, I think it was Ian asking about those, about what can happen with the land. Yeah.
Yeah, and yeah, she was definitely involved in that. And yeah, I don't know. It's striking to me. Well, I guess because I've been like so hands-on and I've been like so like I think about Earth 2 a lot,
Yeah,
and
me
so
too.
to not even like have like done the mentor quest for or especially and people who own they own good stuff too. Like a lot of
Uh-huh.
them are, notable properties that are just not here. But again, I think that adoption will when people realize, then they're like, oh, I have, so I think those players will come back
Yeah.
when the time is right, and they're going to need our essence, and they're going to need our resources,
I'm not
and they're
sure
going
they
to need our
will.
tools.
I think a lot of them are from the very early, very cheap T1 days, and I think they'll come back to a big pile of promised essence on the properties. So I'm not sure they will need our essence. I think that'll be more the kind of the people that are looking to build big projects or the people that have just arrived at the project.
Yeah, but coming back to a big pile of promise, like you can't spend the promise,
That is true. Yeah, they've got to
and
start
it and,
extracting
and
that.
it
Yeah,
it comes in really slow, like on those like those valuable properties.
yeah,
It takes a long time to wither away, and he says it's going to slow down further.
yeah. Well, he said
So
it was going to be harder to get. He didn't necessarily say it would slow down. He said it would be harder to get. Yeah.
you're correct there. That's a good point. That's exactly what he said. That's interesting. So what do you think that means?
I don't know. I don't really have a take on it. Yeah, I'm
I
not
hope
really
it's
not sure.
not. I hope it's not property by property collection.
Me too. It would be
And
awful.
I, that's kind of the only like when you say it that way, because it could be harder to get, as in they just give out less and it's slow.
Yeah.
It's more scarce or it converts at a smaller percentage or whatever. But outside of that, outside of just like reducing the amount, the property by property collection is a concern, and I think it might come at the same time as contracts.
Yes.
They introduce contracts, and they say, and by the way, not only do your resources have to be collected on site, but your essence does too.
Because then it gives
and
more
and in
use
some
to
ways
those
that
contracts. Yeah.
yeah, and it's in some ways that's a bummer because it's like, oh, I won't be able to do it. But in other ways, that's amazing because there's going to be opportunity for the base player or
Yeah.
the ecosystem. You know what I mean? Then that's when the adoption happens because people are like, I can have a free account and play this game and make money
Yeah.
or essence or whatever, and I think that's when we're going to see everything change because like when there becomes opportunities for players who aren't landowners to profit.
Uh-huh.
uh, even my 6-year-old is like, what? Like I'll be able to play the game because he plays Fortnite. He's a Fortnite player,
Yeah.
and he constantly needs V-Bucks. It's V-Bucks, V-Bucks, V-Bucks. And then the one day I was just like, oh, it'll be great when you can earn your bucks within it. And he looked at me like like that's exciting. And I think that's when. So I guess that kind of goes back to the what am I excited for? I think that my answer was mass adoption, and I think that comes when there's opportunities for the non-landowning players.
I would completely agree with that because you literally got no risk factor when you've got the free to play. Like you're not having to put anything in. There's no potential for loss, and obviously it's not going to be guaranteed that there'll be earnings there. But if you put the time and effort in, then you potentially get that. So yeah, I'd agree. Yeah.
People often complain about like the only parts of this game like cost, like you have to buy, like you're buying things, and
Yeah,
that's, I mean, that in my understanding, like that was phase one. Like phase one is like you're buying things and you don't have to, and there's
yeah.
going to be a whole game for everyone who never bought a thing, and
Uh-huh.
that's gonna be, they're gonna benefit from us and we're gonna benefit from them, and that's an economy, and that's what we're working towards.
Yeah, I think the initial description on the site was buying of selling of tiles for stage one or something like that. So it was literally just that.
Yeah, claim
Yeah,
your land. It was
yeah,
was the that's what I remember. Phase one, claim land
yeah,
or whatever. Like that was, and that's, and people are just like, oh, every feature you have to buy, and it's like, but that's because we're the owners.
yeah.
Like we're the landowners. That's the player type that we are right now. And when that changes, when there are more player types, that's gonna be great.
There was, I can't recall who it was, but there was a player I was messaging, must have been a few weeks back now, and they were putting the property up for sale, and they were saying even if Earth 2 does become something, they were like, nothing's going to be stopping us coming back anyway. They said that they'd be able to come back in the free to play elements, so they didn't feel like they were going to be missing out by giving up the land, because if Earth 2 was something they wanted to partake in, they could come back and do that at a later date with no barrier of entry anyway.
And I think that's great. I think that's important, that that's part of it. Like I think that that's well played, and that when they follow through with that, that's what we're here for.
Yeah, I'd agree. Be a big change. Right, back to the questions. We have two left. Next, from the last two are both from Ian Arias, and he is asking, which new features do you think we'll get in the which new features do you think we'll get in E2 from now to the end of the year?
Um, well, it looks like we're gonna get a hollow building market.
Yes.
That's pretty definite between now and the end of the year. I think last night you said this week, right?
Yeah. Well, it'll
Yeah,
be.
hollow building
Yeah.
market's gonna be cool, because that in some ways that is what we were just talking about, where it's an opportunity for a player to earn without
Yeah.
spending, presumably. I mean, there might be like, but the fees will probably work the same way as Jules, where it just
I would
comes from,
imagine so. Yeah.
yeah. So yeah, that's really exciting. We're gonna get that by the end of the year. Um, he's mentioned resource collection by the end of the year, and I would be thrilled with that if we
Uh-huh.
actually get to see how that works and what that entails, to learn. And they kind of go hand in hand again, because the hollow buildings provide storage, right? So,
Yeah. Good point.
and that's what I've seen about the intertwinedness of all this. Part of me says it's all going to come at once.
Yeah.
Like part of me thinks that, not the hollow building market, that we're going to get sooner, but I kind of think that it's when it hits, and I don't know if it's going to be by the end of this year. I kind of feel like next summer. But I think a lot of it's going to drop at once, because it has to. It's all
Yeah. All the
intertwined.
features are interlinked. Yeah.
Yeah. And again, that's essential. Like they all need to be interlinked, because if we list essence without a need for it, then that's dangerous. So we need to introduce upgrades and essence listing and resource collection and a lot of these things in a short period of time. And I think that's the plan, you
Yeah,
know.
I'd agree. I've been saying for months now that I think we will get the Eco Sim and the Essence launch at the same time. And even if it wasn't intentionally planned that way, if we were meant to get Essence a lot sooner, but the bear market kind of broke that, I think it'll at least play to Earth 2's advantage if they do now drop them both at the same time. Because having the
Yeah.
mass utility takes it away from being another useless coin that's being launched to something that players are literally going to be using up and burning on a daily basis.
Yeah. Well, and looking at it from that perspective, in some ways, I would love for it to list before utility, because I have faith that the utility's coming. You know what I mean?
So
So
would you buy more Essence if it did launch before we had utility?
if it lists cheap, like if it doesn't hit a lot of these price predictions that you hear, I will buy as much of it as I can.
Okay, yeah.
Definitely. Yeah. I haven't done the math yet. One of the things that I need to do strategy wise is to look at what I need to upgrade. And that's going to be really tricky, because deciding when to upgrade
It is a very fine
it's
balance.
it's heavy, because if it's like the in theory the tier 1 price will be rising, so the cost to upgrade will rise. But if Essence starts low,
yeah, and then the Essence price starts to go up as well. It is about finding that balance. But
yeah,
to be fair, even the upgrade mechanics, it is all what us as players have kind of decided what we think it's going to be. I don't think there's been any official confirmation of how the upgrade from tier 2 land to tier 1 land will actually work. I can't recall there being anything about that other than what players have decided that's going to be.
right. Well, and I remember some conversations with Shane about it, but they were a while back, and obviously things have changed multiple times since then.
Uh-huh.
But I definitely, and I don't remember if it was Twitter or Discord, but I remember him confirming that Essence only for one.
Yeah.
And that it's the difference in price, like that he indicated that
The difference in price was definitely said by Shane. I don't think I must have seen that one then.
I mean, yeah, I don't have, and I have to have so many screenshots, it would be hard to look for, but I believe that there was a conversation with Shane that he was it was it was all like I think or I would like or whatever, but I think that did come from him at one point.
Okay.
Quite
If any of you guys watching do have a screenshot of that, drop it in the comments below, please, because yeah, I would love to double check that because it'll change my game plans a little bit on that as well.
I'm pretty sure. Well, and the fact that they recently added the tier 1, tier 2 price to the profile view, there's only one reason that they would do that.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, I can't think of any better mechanics to do it that make it fair for the people who bought tier 1 land, but I just kind of don't like to jump on something without seeing it officially confirmed as well. Yeah, right. So I'm not saying that's
well, and that's you do an amazing job on that with your channel. That you're not just throwing things out there because it's hard to separate that sometimes. But yeah, I think I have a feeling that's the way that's going to go. And I mean, again, another assumption, not from that conversation, but we assume that the tier 1 prices will then start to rise again as people upgrade into tier 1.
Otherwise, they're not going to start going up again either because we can't buy tier 1 direct for the map. So it would be the only way to start.
And to lock that, that was my big like disappointment in the tier 2 launch was that like, we were like climbing, and now we're just like stuck. Yeah. So I look forward to that. But I had a weird thought the other day. Would it make sense that the tier 2 price then like settles? Like as your tier, because the tier 2 price became what it is because of how many tier 2 tiles were purchased. So if these tier 2 tiles then become tier 1,
so then there's less tier 2 on the map.
And we
so
haven't ever seen a declining price. The tile price has never gone down. So I would assume they wouldn't do that.
Yeah, I would be very surprised if they did, to be honest. Maybe that's why they've put in steps where the T2 goes up slower than what T1 did or something like that. I don't know. Right. Yeah, I'd be shocked if they went down. I like the thinking behind it.
But I had one of those like moments being like, but wait, like does that, because that would make things real interesting because it's like as people upgrade, then it's like that would be interesting.
No, I completely get the logic behind it. Yeah, it's the sort of thing that I would think about as well. But yeah, I doubt it, but we'll see.
Yeah, I doubt it too. Some of my ideas are.
So this is literally the last question from from all of the community from Inaris. What kind of music do you like? Well, you've actually covered this. What kind of music do you like? Favorite artist, favorite group? You've already been through this one actually, so we're done.
Yeah, I'm all over the place with music, and I think that that's definitely the way Cosmic Charlie's will be too. We'll be a little bit of everything, and
why put all your eggs in one basket?
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, especially when you're talking worldwide too, like I'm really only exposed to limited like I only know American music with little bits of things that they play. So I look forward to liking even more kinds of music when we take this thing global.
Yeah, you could even do it as like have an introducing stage within Cosmic Charlie's as well, where you kind of showcase new artists who aren't well known and stuff as well. That'd be pretty cool.
Well, and again, when you're thinking outside of the physical world in like the metaverse world, I'm assuming this is like a 24/7. It's like so when it's
no closing hours
all day, every day, there's going to be opportunity for all kinds of big and small. Who's on it and it's a different time zone for everybody, a different so yeah, it's going to be neat. It's going to be great.
I agree with that. that's it. Do you have any topics you would like to go over or anything before we finish this?
I think we were pretty thorough,
Yeah, we've
all
been
over the
through a lot.
place at least. We'll have
Yeah,
to do it again sometime. Thanks for having me.
maybe have a
Like I
catch up
said,
in a
I
year.
do want to, like shout out a little appreciation to you and the work that you put in. I know I've said it before, but I think it really means a lot. I think
Thank you.
having a face like yours with the solid information that you provide and the consistency and everything makes the community more solid, and it makes our futures just more likely to be wonderful. So I really do appreciate it.
Oh, thank you very much. Yeah, that probably hit us in the feels. That did. No, thank you.
Yeah, I felt it too, but I mean it, and I think about it a lot. And I think even those who aren't still active did a lot for the project,
I
and
would agree with that. Yeah.
without everybody that and all the players too, it's this thing takes all of us, and we're doing great.
Yeah, I agree. Even the people that have been and gone, like they did do a lot. Even the people that are not liked by the community anymore still did a lot as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
So much appreciation for everybody.
yeah,
We got here as a result of all of it together.
yeah,
So
I agree. My thanks goes to you for being an amazing guest and giving us tons of different insight and letting us know about your project as well. You've been an awesome guest, mate, and I would welcome you back anytime. We'll maybe revisit this in a year or something and see how our stories of Earth 2 have changed.
I look forward to it, man.
Right, brilliant. Thank you very much.
Thanks a
Guys,
bunch.
thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe and all that jazz. Have an amazing day. Catch you later, KC, mate. Thank
Yeah,
you.
you too. Thanks again.